Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The February 4th, 2026 meeting of the City Council will now come to order at 6 p.m. Winnie, may we have the roll, please?
Jessica Ayers.
Here.
Nick Card.
Here.
Kevin Keating.
Here.
Mike Kurlinger.
Here.
John Quinn.
Here.
Zach Smith.
Here.
Kevin Stein.
Here.
And Garrett West.
Here.
We have 8 present.
Oh, all present and accounted for. Mr. Vile. Where's Stein?
Mayor, Council, John Vile, your interim city manager, just wanted to provide a few updates for you for some things going on in the city over the last couple of weeks. First of all, last week we had a city leaders kickoff tournament for cornhole at the Rogue X. Attended well. The American Cornhole Organization worked with Medford Travel to organize this event. Very successful, very well attended, where appointed and elected staff teamed up with the professional players, and Mr. Kurlinger and myself battled it out in the semifinals. And thanks to his partner, I was totally humbled and lost. And Mr. Kurlinger proceeded to the finals where he lost. But it was a good time for all, and very well attended. And appreciate all of you that participated in that event. We have had a couple engagements with our education folks here over the last couple of weeks. We met with Southern Oregon University President Rick Bailey, and we met with Randy Weber, the RCC president, and had some discussions about how the city and these education institutions can better work together. And these were good meetings, collaborative meetings. A big focus of the meeting was discussing on workforce development, what we are seeing as a city on where they could assist us and help our community in improving our workforce. And so it was a good dialogue. We did identify some opportunities. One thing I would just present to you or suggest to you, Mr. Bailey asked from SOU, would it be possible for Medford to have a Medford Day at Southern Oregon University, where we all attend a basketball game or a football game or something, and they would recognize the city's partnership with them. It sounded like a great idea. We'll look for an opportunity to set something up like that. I think that'd be fun. One of the things that happens is we have, you go through the budget process of approving our capital improvement plans, and we have lots of capital improvement projects. And then we just go do them, and you guys frequently don't hear about how they go. So this last summer, I wanted to just highlight the largest pavement overlay project the city's ever contracted for, a almost 15-mile lane mile project on Crater Lake Highway from just south of Delta Waters to north of Vilas Road. Over $4 million project, very proactive investment to help maintain a very critical piece of infrastructure that carries very high volumes of traffic. The project was completed late last summer, early last fall. It was all night work, and the project was pulled off very well. Congratulations to Public Works for completing a project that, like I say, was the biggest overlay project we've done, designed and put out as a staff. And Community Council Art Contest has started. This is the second annual contest. You will be serving as the judges for this. You'll be selecting 4 winners. This is through the CCIF funds. It's open to all Medford High School students. The theme is community, as it notes here. Winners do receive a $1,000 scholarship, and their artwork will be displayed. So we're excited to look forward to those. The contest runs from the first part of February the 2nd through April 20th, and we will be finishing that process and judging and announcing winners in April. And lastly, just a couple of upcoming meetings to be aware of. February 18th, we are going to be talking about the Economic Improvement District. This will be the public hearing where the downtown businesses that will be participating in that will be coming and providing their thoughts and input to you regarding standing this EID up. And so an important meeting. And then on February 25th, we have the study session for the Creekside Corridor project, where council will be asked to make some key decisions regarding moving that project ahead or not moving ahead, depending on your desire. So with that, if you don't have any questions, I am done.
Any questions? What was your budget on Crater Lake Avenue? Because it looks like by lane mile, you got a pretty good price on that.
Do you remember the tile budget? It was
Well, I'll just say you got a good lane mile price on
it was
that.
$4,074,000. How's that? I don't.
Great.
I don't remember what was budgeted.
Over budget. Thank you. I don't think so. Super. Thank you, Mr. Vile. 30.1 is our ALBA semi-annual update. Robin Snyder is here tonight to provide that.
When he's pulling it up. All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Robin Snyder. I'm the president of Medford Alba Sister City Association, and I also have Stacy Stover with us, our vice president. So thanks for allowing us to come today and give you some updates about our Sister City program. Our current committee continues to build on our special friendship with Alba through our student exchanges, our adult visits, community outreach events, and it's just continue to grow. Our members have one thing in common, is our love for Alba and our friends and family in Alba. And we're excited to share that our committee is growing. We have had like 4 new members in the last year, so that's really exciting to get new energy going as well. So every year in October, Alba holds the White Truffle Festival. It's an internationally acclaimed festival celebrating their white truffle harvest, kind of like our Pear Blossom Parade. And white truffles are found by highly trained dogs, and they locate them underground near oak trees and hazelnut trees. And Alba invites us every year to participate in this. It's kind of the kickoff event in October to this month-long festival. And it's also a time when they celebrate their sister cities. They have 6 other sister cities. And of course, Medford's their favorite, and it's their most long-standing sister city. So in 2025, we had 9 representatives from Medford go to the festival with 5 members of our sister city committee. And we joined that kickoff festival, and it's just a great time to celebrate the sister cities. And we met with our friends in Alba, the sister city committee there in Alba. We met with the city council, the mayor, the city council member who's in charge of all the sister cities. And we also met some of the other members from the other sister cities. We had Belgium was there, France, their committee from France, and from Spain. So it's just an amazing time to spend with our friends and family. And I don't have a slide for it, but I also wanted to share our gratitude for the updates that you're doing for the Alba Park and the Alba Room, and we're really excited for the new flagpoles and the flags of Alba and the states, and we're going to add the city of Medford and the city of Alba to those flags. It's a great addition to the park, and then also we're excited about the new updates to the Alba Room, and thank you for including us in that. And it's just, those are great places where we can bring our guests from Alba. And then also this year, May 16th, 2026, we will be having our Taste of Alba event. And this is something that we used to do before COVID. This is our first time bringing it back since COVID. And it's a time to pair some wines from northern Italy with some appetizers in our downtown restaurants. So it's kind of a wine and appetizer strolling event. And it's a great time to advertise our sister city, share information about our exchange and other programs, and just really promote the downtown businesses. So we're really excited to bring it back, and we're looking forward to teaming up with the city and the Medford Downtown Association and Travel Medford. So it'll be a great event. Save the date. And then finally, one of our most successful programs of our Sister City program is our student exchange with our high school students. And we've been doing it since 1985, every other year since then. And our last exchange was during the 24-25 school year. So we are starting to prepare for our next exchange, which will be during the 26-27 school year. And so we're already getting ready to start to advertise and select for our chaperones. And then soon after that, we'll be selecting our students. And then just the planning will continue. And in September, approximately 16 students from Alba and 2 chaperones will be coming to Medford and stay with our Medford families. And we'll be entertaining them with trips to Crater Lake. They'll go rafting. They'll go to the Medford schools, football games and other events and school events, and spending times with their families. And then coming to the city council. That's always a highlight as well. And then in the late March, early April of 2027, our students will go to Alba for a couple weeks and spend time with the same families of the students that visited. And same thing, just get to know the culture and get to know more, families and friendships and the Alba. And it's been a great way to continue the friendship between the two cities, which is so important these days, just to continue that bond that we have. So that's it, if there aren't any other questions.
Any questions? All right. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
the
thanks for your
presentation.
support.
We'll move on to agenda item 40, which is oral requests and communications from the audience. This is where we set aside 30 minutes for in-person public comments. The comments are limited to 2 minutes per person or organization. As outlined in the agenda, the public may also submit written comments to the council. Winnie, how many comments do we have tonight? We've got
Looks
a
like-
pretty full house here. This is good.
Looks like we have 17, Mayor.
17, and does that include Stevens Street?
It does not. Let's see.
So those of you that filled out comment forms to talk about Stevens Street, that'll come up later in the meeting. So this will just be open comments for now. And just so we're thinking about it, 17 comments would be 34 minutes. We've got about 30. So I'm going to be pretty tight on the 2 minutes. We want to make sure we can get everybody in here. So let's start with the first 3. Oh, and by the way, decorum applies.
Your Honor, we had some written comments submitted as well.
Okay.
So we had received written comments from 7 people for tonight's meeting. Yvette Hernandez, Brooke Nielsen, Jeannie Grizzoli, and Catherine DeRoot submitted comments in support of funding for the Ivy School and Children's Museum of Southern Oregon. And Phyllis Nelson, Samuel Beeler, David Browder submitted comments related to Main Street returning to its previous configuration. The comments were submitted to the mayor, the city council, and appropriate staff. Comments are also available on the website. There were no other written comments received for agenda item 40. And then I'll call the first 3 people for public comment. We have William Dames, David Browder, and Rebecca Burkhutter.
I'm Bill Dames, 2337 Kona Circle, Medford. I contacted the city, county, and state when it was first announced that the federal courthouse might be moving. That's quite a while ago, and suggested that the city, county, or state should purchase a historic building if they had a possible use for it. I was dismayed when your urban renewal guy recently said that the sale was news to him, that he hadn't heard about it. And I was wondering if you guys talked to one another. The feds are giving up and selling a public asset and renting a new building to be built near Trader Joe's. People are used to public buildings in downtown areas, like the area that's been zoned in downtown Medford for public buildings. So to me, Merkley, Wyden, and Bentz, all of them are screwing the public by giving up this asset. I would encourage you to please facilitate a new public use for the historic courthouse. Could be county, could be state, could be city, anybody, but please facilitate that.
Thank you. And just always go ahead and reintroduce yourself when you kick it off.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. David Browder, president of Siskiyou Velo Bicycle Club. It's a regional bicycle club here in the Valley. While it's not on tonight's agenda, I'm coming to speak to the vote on the 21st, where you elected to go back to the original configuration of Main Street. We think that's a poor decision, given not only the expense of that, but the potential for increased volume. Part of the club role is to get safer bicycle travel throughout the region, and we do use the city streets as a means of communication and transportation. So not only was the option the most expensive, but it requires repayment of the grant. Citizens with whom I've spoken were not aware that was going to be required and are now unhappy. So what we're encouraging is to revisit the decision, open a period back up for public comment. And then think about a configuration. There was a couple offered by the staff that are much less expensive and less burdensome on some of the merchants downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and call the next three. Sorry.
Andy Whitlock, maybe? It's hard to read the last name. Logan Bell and Emily Whitlock.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
It's okay. My name is Rebecca, and sorry, I don't know the difference between this and getting chased by a bear. I wanted to express my how disheartening it was to hear some of the attitudes people on the city council had towards cycling and cycling safety and pedestrians. There were claims that people don't bike when it's cold or raining or icy. As you know, RVTD cut their bus offerings by 60% this last year. Those people still have to get around. They still, even if it's dark or icy or raining, are still going to have to get through this community. There was concerns about people in the Sharrows and not liking being in the Sharrow with a cyclist. What is a mild inconvenience to drivers is dangerous for me. I'm 5'2", and there are a lot of automobiles in our region that can't actually see me from their driver's seat. And finally, there was a comment about how it's not that hard to cross the street, I assume in reference to how it will inevitably increase the miles per hour of just people traveling through. Less than 24 hours later and 6 miles away, there was someone in a bike lane he was in a crosswalk and he got hit by a truck and he died. The attitudes about cycling safety and pedestrian safety and these assumptions about what it takes to move through the community safely, it's antithetical to an accessible and affordable community. Thank you.
My name is Andy Whitlock. My wife, Emily, and I own M's Blend Soap Company at 232 East Main Street. I'm here tonight as a Main Street business owner. I want to start by thanking the council for your service. You give your time to this city. I don't take that lightly. Thank you. I've read the transcript from January 21. I watched the video. I want to talk about what was on the table and what got passed over. Option 3 removed the bollards. That's how you say it. It restored curb parking. It kept one buffered bike lane going with traffic. It cost $590,000. No grant repayment. Staff recommended it. The chamber endorsed it. It addressed every complaint I heard from everyone on either side of this. The council chose full reversion instead. That cost roughly $1 million, including $475,000 back to the state that benefits no one in Medford. That's $410,000 more for a result that your own transportation manager said doesn't meet national safety guidance. And the survey that informed this decision was taken before anyone knew option 3 would save the grant money. The public didn't have complete information. The council voted on it anyway. Nobody from the city or council reached out to Main Street businesses before this vote. We're the ones directly affected. We weren't asked. Bartlett and Main is my front door. No signal, no crosswalk lights. My customers cross there to reach us. Your transportation manager told this council that speeds will go up if you put it back to 3 lanes. I cross that intersection almost every day. I believe him. If this decision stands, we need flashing crosswalk lights at that intersection at a minimum. Staff recommended option 3. The chamber endorsed it. Federal safety guidance supported it. It cost $410,000 less. It addressed every complaint. It kept the grant money. It met national safety standards. The decision went a different direction. It wasn't the fiscally responsible choice. It wasn't the safe choice. It wasn't what the experts recommended. I'd like to understand what it was. We chose Main Street. We're not leaving, and we'd rather be included at the table than at this microphone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Could we call the next three? Oh, sorry, we still have two more? Well, you know what? We'll wait one more. By the way, I'm not trying to rush anybody from their full 2 minutes, but I just want to make sure everybody gets heard.
Yes. My name is Emily Whitlock. My husband Andy and I own Emsblend Soap Company at 232 East Main Street in the heart of downtown, directly affected by this decision. I started this business in my home kitchen over 25 years ago. Thank you. When Andy and I joined forces, it really took off. We've had a storefront downtown Ashland for 22 years, which taught us what makes a downtown work. We live here in Medford, and Andy is a fifth-generation Southern Oregonian. His family came here on the Oregon Trail before Oregon was even a state. 2 years ago, we opened a second shop downtown Medford and brought our production with us. We believed in this downtown, and we still do. There have been many comparisons to Ashland's 3-lane downtown, but Ashland is consistently ranked as one of the most bike-friendly towns in the country, with a walkable, people-centered downtown culture. I've seen what happens when a city treats its downtown as a place for people, not just as a way to move cars through. People walk, people linger, people spend money. Medford had a real option with option 3, a real solution with option 3. It removed the confusing bollards, restored curbside parking, kept a simpler bike lane, cost half as much, and avoided repaying a $500,000 state grant, and it addressed every complaint I heard. Option 3 was dismissed based on an incomplete survey completed by a tiny fraction of Medford residents who did not have all of the information. We are not a chain. We are not a drive-through. We are the kind of business that you cannot find at a strip mall. Going back to 3 lanes is unsafe. It harms pedestrians and it hurts businesses. Cars will move faster through town, not to town. Option 3 cost half as much, avoided a $500,000 repayment, and solved the problems people raised. I don't understand how we ended up here, but I believe it's not too late to fix. Please rescind this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Winnie, can you call the next three?
It's Nathan Willard, James Matt Chichik, and Kina Moser.
Sorry.
Hello, councilors, mayor. My name is Logan Bell, and I'm a resident of Medford. I grew up in the Rogue Valley, and I'm a product of the Medford Public Schools. I have silently watched as Medford struggles to revive its downtown over the years. Some efforts have been successful, and some very little. Contextually, Medford has a number of features that give it a potential to have a great downtown. The city is near the Oregon's only national park, Crater Lake. We have vineyards and wineries all throughout the Rogue Valley. Southern Oregon is an outdoor person's paradise. The climate is also amazing. We're in the Pacific Northwest, yet we have more sunny days than not. Medford could be a town that people want to visit. But sadly, when you visit downtown, what are the attractions? The bike lane was one small piece of a complex puzzle. It encouraged not only biking, but it slowed down traffic. It made downtown more accessible. As a pedestrian, I want a downtown that is accessible, walkable, and bikeable. Removing the bike lane is a step backwards. Other towns, which have revitalized their downtown, such as Bend, have been experimenting with eliminating traffic altogether. I want Medford to be an amazing place that I'm proud of. Please reconsider this decision to tear out the bike lane, and instead start thinking bigger. Questions that I'd like the council to consider are, how can we add more bike lanes? How can we reduce cars in the downtown? By asking these questions, I think we can make downtown Medford the envy of the Northwest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Nathan Willard. I am a business owner here in Medford. So talking about the bike lanes. So obviously you guys know all the information about people complaining and what was recommended and so on and so forth. no matter what happens, nobody's going to be happy. There's always going to be something that somebody's going to complain about. There's no perfect solution to anything. But I would say it's all about opportunity costs, okay? To me, even $500,000 to change it is not the best use of $500,000. I can't imagine that Medford doesn't have something better that it could spend $1 million on or $500,000 on. So I would recommend not doing anything because, yeah, people are going to complain, but there's no perfect solution. And I think we could use that money somewhere else that would actually benefit people more. So I would ask for it to be reconsidered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I am James Matichuk. I am a resident of West Medford, and I'm the pastor of Medford Congregational United Church of Christ in East Medford, and I use that bike lane all the time. And I love it. And yet, I will tell you, I'm a 50-year-old man, which means I'm more of a crotchety old man every single day. And I don't like when things change. When you put in a new traffic circle, I hate it. Even though I know it saves lives and it's safer, I hate it. When you changed Columbus Avenue to put the bike lane in and you had to do the hard right turn to get into the right lane to keep going straight, I hated that. And I got used to it. And I love it. And I like that we are safer going through downtown because the cars are moving slower. It's safer for pedestrians. It's safer for people on bikes. Less accidents happen. It is wonderful. And when I first parked my car on Main Street after you changed it, I was like, what's going on? I'm parking in the middle of the street. I didn't like that. But I changed. And it's okay to change your mind. It's growth, actually. So go ahead, change your mind.
Thank you. Can we call the next three, please? Sorry.
We have Chrissy Milner, Mark Milner, and Logan Connor.
Sorry, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Keena Moser, and I live in South Medford. I'm here tonight to urge the council not to spend $1 million and return state grant funds to rip out the recently completed safety improvements on Main Street. Reverting Main Street to its old striping is a step backwards, a waste of public funds, and a rejection of the evidence-based progress Medford has already made. Sending back grant funds hurts our credibility when applying for future grants. We all want a thriving Main Street, one where people feel comfortable coming to shop, dine, and move around safely. Research and real-world experience from places across Oregon and the country show that streets designed for people, not just cars, attract more foot traffic, help small businesses, and make downtowns more welcoming. Spending over $1 million taxpayer dollars to make a street less safe is not consistent with Medford's own transportation goals. It is reactive, not fiscally responsible. Let's pause, take a breath. Let's keep the Main Street improvements in place. Thank you for your time and for your service to our community.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chrissy Milner, and I own Terra Firma Home on Main Street, and I've been here for 25 years. I'm here to plead the case that we need clear and common sense logic regarding the Main Street traffic and bike lanes. Not having a dedicated bike lane is a serious public safety issue. And I must also mention it is a decision that negatively affects downtown business. The data is all too clear when it comes to slowing down traffic in a downtown corridor. And I believe the City Council is aware of the state safety statistics. Adding dedicated bike lanes and reducing traffic lanes can decrease crashes by 30 to 50%. Why? Because 3 lanes encourage speeding, passing, and weaving. When you remove that 3rd lane and replace it with a dedicated bike lane, you are narrowing the road, which naturally slows down traffic. This is option 3, which 4 council members voted for, and it's an economical fix to the situation as well. Putting cyclists in their own protected lane has shown in studies to see up to 90% fewer injuries per mile. And why are we eliminating this? I agree the current situation as is does not work. The bike lane is too big, and condensing traffic to one lane over that bridge is ridiculous. Option 3, to revert to 2 lanes with a smaller, dedicated bike lane, is the most common sense, logical way for Medford to move forward. And lastly, I must ask the council, if it is a known studied fact that reducing lanes and slowing down traffic also has a direct impact on increasing the sales of downtown business, can you explain why you are changing it back to a 3-lane, high-speed thoroughfare?
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Milner, and I own Terra Firma Home on Main Street. I'm the other half. We have been there for 25 years, as Chrissy said, and since we are a design business, I thought I'd change it up a little bit and use an analogy about the current Main Street debacle in terms of design. Suppose you have an old, dated bathroom, and you decide to remodel. You spend $50,000 to remodel and update. After it's done, you realize in your inexperience, it's not working well and not what you want, so you decide to spend more money to fix it. Would you spend the same $50,000 to put back to the original unattractive version? Or a far lesser amount to make the improvements to get it just right? Never in our 25 years of design has a client spent the same amount of money to convert a space back to its original design. Have any of you in this room spent your construction costs to revert a remodel back to what you started with? I don't think so. It is my understanding that the city did not know at the time of the survey that grant funds would be waived to the tune of $475,000, give or take, which in turn makes option 3 the most economical fix. That's huge savings of taxpayer dollars and a huge flaw in the survey. The city of Medford wants to spend $1 million to go back to broken. Who does that? Who authorized the release of the online survey before hearing the cost implications from the ODOT grant? That was professionally irresponsible to send it out to the general public. All aspects of the decision negatively impact downtown vitality. I am angry that my city is going to spend $1 million on the project to go backwards, which will encourage faster car speeds and less safe biking and pedestrian crossings. It also is going to hamstring important public projects throughout the city. The council was aware of the statistics that when the lanes are slowed down, there's increased safety, increased foot traffic for business. For the councilors who voted against option 3, you should have not caved in and followed your gut, and should have followed your gut despite who screamed the loudest. You had an opportunity to get it right, and I don't think you did. And on a footnote, I spoke to Steve Raymer this morning, who's building the Elements Hotel in downtown Medford, and he is for the 2-lane because he couldn't be here. He's in Grand Junction, Colorado, and he is now putting, for the record, his investments in downtown on pause until he understands if this is going to go forward or you're going to rescind and go back and revote.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we call the next 3, please?
Marta Teranci, Alex Golden, and Abigail Schilling.
My name is Logan Connor, and I'm an Oakdale Middle School student and a Life Scout in Troop 7. Some of you may remember me speaking about the bike lanes before they were installed. I'm here to ask for you to keep the downtown bike lanes. One reason this is important to me is that I used the Main Street bike lanes to earn my Eagle required cycling merit badge. I had to ride 2 10 miles, 2 15s, and 2 25s before I could complete my 50-mile in less than 8 hours. I had to learn traffic laws, how to ride safely, and how to share the road with cars. And the bike lanes helped me do that much easier. Bike lanes help kids like me learn how to be responsible and safe. We're riding through the city. Another reason to keep the bike lanes is that more people are using bikes downtown. That means bike lanes is working. When people feel safer, they are more likely to ride their bikes to school, to work, or local businesses, or just for fun in general. And so I'd like for you to please consider keeping the downtown bike lanes. It helps kids learn safety, increases bike use, slows traffic, and protects the public money. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, Council. Good afternoon, Mayor. My name is Marta Torrensay. I'm a resident of the 500 block of West Jackson Street. To go on without the bicycle lane, an essential facility, as our planning department has been calling it, is to take us back to car-centered planning of the 50s. It's to remove a thread and a tapestry of amenities that Medford has been adding over time and still continues to, as we just heard from Mr. Weil. To reverse the situation as is will cost just over 20% of what it took on a project that had an amazing per mile expenditure, as Mayor just had remarked. We've seen the CCIF invested by the council in key projects and programs that make us stand out as a community that's caring. We're bringing events like the 2026 Taste of Alba, and we know a lot of visitors and residents prefer to bike to those to avoid the traffic or to save parking spots for elders. We are investing in the scholarships for the Kid Time Museum and the Center for Creative Learning, and we know those families use those bike lanes. The bicycle people have the data on that. I don't, but I know that it's happening. Additionally, I cannot reconcile, even though I do pride myself on being able to hold opposing ideas at once, that while we're investing in recruiting and retaining healthcare professionals and their families here, such as through the work of the Southern Oregon Alliance of Physicians, we are removing a part of the active transportation infrastructure when those families have expressed time and time again, yes, to me as well, that having an environment conducive to a healthy lifestyle and community investment is a factor in their decision to come and stay. I am a proud neighbor. I volunteer a lot. Before the pandemic, I was a recipient of the Governor's Award of Public Service. I'm sorry I have not come to you sooner. I was dealing with other highly pressing matters. Thank you for your time. Please reconsider. Do not give the money back.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Alex Golden. I live over in East Medford. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You know, I couldn't have said it any better than myself there.
And we're done here. I'd like to start by offering some empathy to people who voted against this. It is my understanding from a long history of watching online forums that cyclists are viewed more often than not as either middle-aged men in tight-fitting clothing or people who couldn't find themselves if you gave them the right resources. But I've been biking in this town since I was 12 years old, back and forth to work. I have ridden Main Street day in and day out when it was 3 lanes and a Shero, and I've almost died a couple of times. I have a 3-year-old son now. He loves the Children's Museum, and he loves going for bike rides. That lane allows me to go from my home over in the dark shadow of the manor to downtown Medford and all the way across town with never a thought to whether or not someone in a lifted truck on their phone with a beer or two in their system or any other combination of dangerous factors that drivers can sometimes engage in is going to smash the little person behind me. I understand why you voted against it. There's a loud minority of people in Medford who don't want things to change. But there are also people like me who assumed, admittedly foolishly, that you wouldn't take such an enormous step backwards. Keeping option 3, as you've already heard a number of times, saves money, it saves face, it removes a protected bike lane that I love, But if that's what we have to go with so that I can still take my child to downtown Medford without fearing for his life, please go with option 3. Please reconsider. Thank you all very much.
Hi, I'm Abigail Schilling. I'm the owner of Medford Co-work Collective at 122 East Main Street, and I'm a resident of Ward 2. I live right down the street on Holly Street. I'm here to complain, dissent, and share my disappointment at the decision made by our elected officials. The decision made last week to reverse Main Street sets a dangerous precedent. The Main Street configuration with bike lanes had reduced traffic speeds and increased non-car usage. At council's request, staff recommended a cheaper alternative. The chamber endorsed it, and so did the cycling community, but you rejected all of it and chose the most expensive option available, one that your own transportation manager says doesn't meet national safety guidance. You ignored the business community, the data, the own staff, not because the complaints were right, but because they were loud. The original project wasn't reckless. It wasn't rushed. It was made the way decisions should be made. You studied Main Street for years. There was 48 design concepts. There was public meetings. There was alignment with adopted plans. I was there. I was in those rooms. And when the city conducted outreach to the downtown businesses, 2/3 of the Downtown Medford Association members supported it. In August 2023, the council unanimously approved the contract. We were awarded the $475,000 Safe Routes to School grant to fund it, and the project was professionally designed, backed by years of research, and almost entirely paid by the state. This is how the process is supposed to work. Of course, not everyone was happy. Some opposed, some were worried about safety concerns. Those things can be researched. But you don't have to listen and act. You can just take a pause. Thank you.
Thank you. That's okay. Oh, sorry, I got behind. The next, how many more are left?
We have 4 left, Your Honor.
Let's call all 4.
Okay, so it's Brendan Binger, Sam Beeler, David Wilkerson, and Sky Reel.
Good evening, Brendan Binger, frequent attendee, first-time commenter. I'd like to read a brief letter that I've already submitted to the Office of the Mayor and to council members via email. Esteemed Mayor and council members, I'm writing to express my profound disappointment regarding the recent decision to restore the Main Street corridor to its legacy streetscape configuration. I must offer my apologies for not preemptively expressing these thoughts. However, my previous silence was a result of the data provided during the session where staff presented the final options for pass forward. It was shared that any change could trigger ODOT grant repayment and that a total reversion guaranteed that repayment. Because a 100% reversion was presented as both fiscally and operationally inferior, I did not believe it was a serious consideration. As such, I did not realize the urgency of defending a design that was already succeeding. Safety is not a subjective preference, it is a measurable outcome. During that staff presentation, qualitative data indicated that the existing configuration was already creating a safer built environment within its first year. Reports of statistically fewer accidents and a reduction in average motorist speeds prove that this design works. The current streetscape achieves a safer environment for all users of all movement modalities, pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers alike. By contrast, the legacy configuration belongs to the mid-20th century, when downtown served as a transportation corridor for industry and logging. Reverting to that model intentionally degrades the safety of our citizens, which is a regressive step for the community. The existing configuration is a skillful achievement in urban design. It reflects contemporary best practices with principles dating back to the foundational work of Jane Jacobs. The design supports the destination nature of our downtown in the modern era, a place where users dwell, working, living, and playing. Given the ODOT grant involvement, I assume the design was peer-reviewed by state experts who recognize that complete streets are the national standard for a reason. It is important to acknowledge that this project essentially fast-forwarded the corridor through over half a century of urban design evolution in a single step. Any whiplash felt by the community is a direct result of a decades-long systemic failure to incrementally keep pace with evolving built environment science. I'll skip a little bit. You have seen this already?
Yeah, so if we have the email, if you could just read the last
Yeah, I was going to go right down to the end then. I implore you to reconsider and rescind the decision to revert the Main Street corridor to the legacy configuration. Thank you for your consideration of these comments and for your dedicated service to our community. I recognize that you're often navigating a difficult balance between competing voices, and I have a deep respect for the work you do to chart a path forward for all of us. All the best, Brendan Binger, a Ward 2 resident committed to a safe and thriving Medford for all.
Thank you.
Evening, my name is Sam Beeler and I live at 43 North Orange Street, just a 5-minute walk from here. While I did submit the following as a written comment, I thought it prudent to come and say it in person. And it may go without saying that I'm here tonight to talk about the decision the council made on January 21st to return Main Street to its previous configuration. I was regrettably unable to make the previous discussions, though I did respond to the online survey. First, I'd like to recognize Councilmembers Quinn, Smith, Keating, and Card, and Mayor Zarinski for voting in line with what some members of the public voted in the survey for and were expressly in favor of. I'd also like to thank Councilmembers Aries, Kurlinger, Stein, and West for voting what I personally believe was the right choice. I live and work off downtown Main Street and walk it nearly every single day. I understand that people were frustrated with the new configuration, but going back to the old configuration was the wrong choice. Leaving out the fiscal questionability of having to pay back the ODOT grant money, I believe that going with option 3, the altered single-lane bike path with buffered parking, would have been the better choice from a safety and usability standpoint. One beneficial aspect of the option 3 design that I did not hear discussed was having buffered parking by the Children's Museum, which also hosts a preschool. I can see the Children's Museum from my office window and daily see parents struggling to get their children in and out of car seats and strollers while cars pass only inches away. There has already been one vehicle pedestrian collision at the Oakdale Main Street intersection that left a mother and her daughter underneath a car, which I personally witnessed and helped direct traffic afterwards. I believe it will only be a matter of time before more of these accidents and collisions happen as 3 lanes of traffic return and car speeds pick back up, which the city's very own traffic engineer stated would happen. Additionally, not everyone owns cars, and many depend on bikes on their own 2 feet to get around. Safe passageways for these modes of transportation should be increasing and not decreasing. Medford is changing, and we should not keep our eyes in the rearview mirror as we move forward. I encourage the council to reconsider the decision in favor of option 3. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilors and Mr. Mayor. I'm David Wilkerson. I'm a Medford resident, downtown business owner, and downtown property owner. We very proudly made the move downtown about 6 years ago so that we'd be part of the downtown revitalization efforts. And I'm here tonight to ask you to reconsider your last vote and keep a bike lane as has been recommended by staff and our professional consultants, a solution that was vetted through a robust public input process and publicized widely in advance. Our city's major and long-lasting decisions should not be made based on data and thoughtful consideration, not in response to a few squeaky wheels. I'm also concerned that the city's recent survey asking for community input, respondents were not asked whether they were a downtown visitor, employee, or even if they use this stretch of West Main Street. The current arrangement has proven to be safer and slows down traffic, which is what any downtown wants and needs for its shop owners, patrons, and pedestrians. I use this stretch of West Main Street almost every weekday, both for my commute to Grape Street and for my return from in-person meetings. I can tell you firsthand that bicycle traffic has improved substantially since the bike lane was installed. A few weeks ago, I saw a father pulling his daughter in a bike trailer first thing in the morning. And literally this morning, a man on e-bike passed me while another man on a regular bike headed east. Since the city has prioritized downtown revitalization in both the 2040 Vision Plan and the Downtown Master Plan, I urge you to find a solution that will set us up for future success rather than looking back to the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council and mayor. I'm Sky Real. I'm an independent artist. I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. It's my first meeting here, but as far as the bike path goes, I just think as long as everyone's being safe, we should be happy. But I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about this vision I have of uniting the community together for a free and fun, family-oriented event. I am personally selling albums for another artist from Oakland, California, and if I sell 1,000 albums for him, he's trying to sell 100,000 independently. then he does a free show. So I'm trying to gather the community in Medford and get people buying in on this so we can do a free show. I have kids 11 and 9 that are also independent artists. We make music together, so it's like me, my kids, and the family putting on a free event for other families who can't afford to go to concerts and have fun, and having an opportunity to just showcase love and unity and positive influences. You know, the music that this artist that I'm promoting particularly, he promotes uplifting the community and trying to encourage youth to make better decisions. Sorry, I'm a little nervous, but make better decisions, not choose drugs and alcohol and gang violence and stuff like that. So I believe in his message, and so as my own independent artist, I'm wanting to try to gather the community support and see if this is something that's possible, maybe direct me to who I talk to. I really don't know, so I just feel like I have like so many great ideas, like the Pear Blossom, that one stage there, there's the park over at Bear Creek that has, there's so many places, so I feel like together, if we can work together and actually make this happen, it's possible. You know, I believe in myself and I believe in my community and I believe in the message behind it. It's more about just trying to be a positive role model and influence. Me, myself, I made mistakes and I have a bad history here in Medford. I've been living here my whole life, but I turned my life around, I found God, and I found a community around me that believes in me and supports in me, so I'm just here to try to share that message and tell people that it's okay to believe in yourself and it's okay to have big dreams and shoot for the stars, even if you land on a cloud. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And that will conclude our public comment period. I guess that being said, with everyone here tonight, and I guess I didn't hear one comment that said we appreciate the decision that was made. So for a entire group that did not get an outcome that they were looking for, I just want to say how much I appreciated your respectful comments and how well you conveyed yourselves, and I really appreciated that part of it. So you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if we are going to move out, we can take we're going to go through our consent calendar. I don't think we can be a little bit distracted, but if you do leave, just kind of try to do it quietly, and we really appreciate all that you had to say tonight.
Let's see.
There are
Do we
two
wanna do
items
meeting
on our
minutes first?
consent calendar, sir. Minutes. You know, clearly I don't even pay attention to those. We have received the draft minutes from the January 7th and January 21st, 2026 regular meetings. Does anyone have any revisions or corrections to those minutes? Mr. Curlinger?
No, he's looking at Garrett West.
Oh.
I already made all the corrections we need, so no more.
Well done. Seeing none, the minutes are approved as presented. Agenda item 60, consent calendar, 2 items.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 6.1 is Council Bill 2026-09, an ordinance approving and authorizing execution of a contract in the amount of $424,000 with Knife River Construction for installation of 4 pickleball courts at Roosevelt School Park. And item 6.2 is Council Bill 2026-10, a resolution setting the public hearing date for March 4th, 2026, and initiating annexation to the City of Medford of a single undeveloped parcel totaling approximately 38.75 acres located east of Sage Road, north of Ross Anley Drive, south of Mason Way, and west of Highway 99. The county zoning designation of general industrial will be changed to the city's general industrial zone with an I00 limited industrial overlay. The property will be removed from the Medford Rural Fire Protection District Number 2.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
So moved by Councilor West, seconded by Card. Any items to be removed? All right. Seeing none, Winnie, can we have roll call, please?
Garrett West,
Yes.
Nick Card.
Yes.
Kevin Keating. Yes. Jessica Ayers.
Yes.
Zach Smith.
Yes.
Kevin Stein.
Yes.
John Quinn.
Yes.
And Mike Curlinger.
Yes.
We have 8 yes.
All right. Consent calendar passes. No ordinances, resolutions. On to agenda item 90. Same rules on how to testify if you do so. We have one land use quasi judicial hearing. And if you'd like to speak during this hearing, make sure that you've completed a blue public comment form. Comments for quasi-judicial hearings are limited to 30 minutes for applicants and/or their representatives. A 5-minute rebuttal time may be requested. Appellants and/or if the applicant is not the appellant, they will be allowed a total of 30 minutes. All other participants will be limited to 4 minutes. Quasi-judicial hearings have specific requirements, which City Attorney Eric Mitten will outline before the hearing begins. Mr. Mitten.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 90.1 is Council Bill 2026-11, a resolution authorizing a transportation facility for Stevens Street and Wabash Avenue between Crater Lake Avenue and Ridgeway using a modified minor collector street cross-section that reduces bike lane widths, does not include planter strips or on-street parking, and introduces a dedicated turn lane, varies the standard street width, and reduces the overall right-of-way width throughout much of the project area. Sidewalk improvements are also authorized for the west side of Pearl Street between Stevens Street and Sailing Avenue. And because this is quasi-judicial, I have a few rules to go over. I'm going to explain the rules that govern this hearing. Before the hearing begins, city staff will give a report. The report will list the criteria that governs the city's decision. After the staff report, the hearing will be open for other speakers. The applicant will speak first and may ask for rebuttal time. Following the applicant, any other interested person will be allowed to speak. Before the hearing is closed, anyone who needs more time to present evidence must ask for more time. If you ask, the hearing will be continued or the record will be kept open. You'll have at least 7 days to present additional written evidence. Any testimony, argument, or evidence you give must relate to the criteria listed in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulations that you believe apply to the decision. If you fail to raise an issue or do not give the council sufficient information so that the council and any party can respond, you'll not be able to appeal that issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. If you do not raise constitutional or other issues about any proposed condition with specificity so that the council can respond to that issue, you'll not be able to bring a court action for damages. Thank you.
And one more item, is this required disclosure of ex parte contact?
Yes, because it's quasi-judicial, we do need to disclose ex parte contact.
Okay, does anyone have, yes, Mr. Card.
This issue was discussed during the Transportation Commission meeting, and I was party of those discussions.
Thank you. Mr. West?
I watched the Planning Commission meeting. That's in the record. I also received an email from a member of the Planning Commission. That's in the record as Exhibit Y. I have done a site visit, and I've driven on this street countless times in my life. Thank you.
Okay.
I echo everything Garrett just said.
Mr. Curlier?
Same.
Okay.
Plus, I talked to a second planning commission member about the minutes.
Okay. Mr. West?
Mike, can you state the substance of your conversation with the Planning Commission?
I reached out to 2 members of the planning commission just to get their take on how the discussion went and why the vote was split.
Right. Well, just to ensure you do not have any bias nor actual conflict of interest.
No, just disclosing that I've had conversations and have also driven down the street.
Perfect. May we have staff report,
Thank
please?
you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Carla Palladino with your Planning Department. Also assisting me this evening is Dennis Hart. He's our Deputy City Engineer, and we have Dan Worth and Alex Georgevich also here on standby. This has been a collaborative process. Legal staff, planning staff, and engineering staff have worked hard to get you to this point, and so we're going to present this project for you tonight and see where we go. So a couple of new exhibits for you this evening. These came in the last 2 days. So again, Exhibit Y, an email from Jared Pulver that was dated back January 9th. Exhibit Z was a property owner petition that we received yesterday in opposition. Exhibit AA, letter from Kristen Adams. And Exhibit BB, a letter from Denise Strake. The CC exhibit was parking space location maps. That's just information for council as we move forward. The Exhibit DD, an email from Elise Schulters. Exhibit EE, an email from Liz Hardy. And the Exhibit FF, a letter and picture from Tim Jackal. So we have these 8 new exhibits that have been added to the record. 5 of the submittals are in opposition of the project, and 2 are in favor of the sidewalk improvements, noted by red and green. So again, this application is for a transportation facility application to upgrade improvements for Stevens Street. We're looking at east of Crater Lake Avenue and the extension of Stevens onto Wabash Avenue to Ridgeway. In addition, we're looking at Pearl Street and adding sidewalk to the western side between Stevens Street and Saline. So Stevens and Wabash are both minor collector streets, so we'll be talking about the cross sections that are in our code and in the transportation system plan, as well as the standard residential street cross section for Pearl Street and kind of the deviations that we'll go through this evening as part of the proposal. So this application, the TF application, is an approval of roadway improvements to existing or new streets that deviate from the standard cross-sections, as I just mentioned, and eliminating elements from looking at those different street types. This evening, the council will see the proposed changes suggested to improve Stevens streets and portions of Wabash and Pearl. Stevens and Wabash are designated as minor collectors. Pearl Street is a standard residential. Both cross-sections for these street types are shown on the screen. The transportation facility allows council to approve modifications to the standard cross-section in order to address existing constraints. Other transportation facility applications that the council has seen over the years include projects like Foothill Road, Edwards Street, and Lozier Lane. The authority and criteria this evening: this is a type 4 land use application. The Planning Commission is the recommending body and City Council makes the final decision. Staff has reviewed the project against the criteria on the screen and finds 3 of the 4 criteria apply in this case and are satisfied. The council decision must be based on the criteria on the screen. In terms of where this project is located, this is located in northeast Medford. The streets are east of the Medford Center and northeast of downtown. Hedrick Middle School is located to the southeast on the map. Stevens Streets was identified as a council priority project during the development of the transportation system plan. Former councilor member Jackal was a big proponent of providing sidewalks on Stevens Street to add to safe facilities for those within and around the neighborhood. I spoke with him last evening, and he did provide a written testimony in support of the need for sidewalks on this roadway. Council adopted the TSP in 2018 with Stevens Street listed as a short-term priority project. Engineering staff applied for a state grant in 2019 and were awarded funds in 2020. This project was included in the 2 consecutive budgets, but was delayed because of the Foothill project. In 2023, Council approved the grant agreement with ODOT to make improvements. So in terms of the project design, from October and November, what I'll talk about is the initial design was presented to the Planning Commission, the Transportation Commission, and the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. The Transportation Commission and the ATAC both forwarded recommendations for approval of the project with elements for engineering to review. There was an open house held for the public, and that will be, I'll talk a little bit more about kind of that engagement later in the presentation. The PC did hold their first hearing in November. The public comments received and the questions and concerns of the Planning Commission led to a continuance that evening and a modified design, which we're calling Design 2, or the current proposal, which is before you this evening. In January, the Planning Commission deliberated and forwarded a favorable recommendation. The updated design was presented to the Transportation Commission and ATAC following the PC recommendation as an update. Let's get into the project review. So this project looks at Stevens Street east of Crater Lake Avenue. It also looks at Wabash, that curve all the way to Ridgeway, and the Pearl Street improvements between Stevens and Saline. As you can see on the map, the yellow dash was the original Design 1, which also included Oregon Terrace. Oregon Terrace is no longer in the proposal. So looking at Stevens Street, and we're starting at that intersection with Crater Lake Avenue, what's proposed is a dedicated left turn lane. We're looking at 3 lanes at the intersection. Their existing traffic signal on the southeast corner will be modified and relocated. And then from here, we'll start of bike lanes, 5-foot bike lanes, and sidewalks on both sides. So the proposed street cross-section, you can see at the top, you can see on the bottom where the existing roadway width is, about maybe 25 feet in width. And on the top number, the 47, you can see that is the existing road right-of-way on the road. And so not all of it is being currently used. So engineering staff has kind of gone back, looked at that existing right-of-way, and has proposed improvements to stay pretty tight within those improvements. You can also see on the left there's 7 feet of proposed right-of-way needed. That would be, again, at that intersection so that we can add that additional turn lane. The graphic shows you what the minor collector standard elements are in blue. The changes in yellow are what are being proposed as part of the Stevens Street intersection. So instead of a 6-foot bike lane, it would be a 5-foot. We would not have any dedicated on-street parking. The planter strip would be removed. There would be the addition of the turn lane, and our cross-section right-of-way would be 54 feet. In terms of the Stevens Street main line, again, we're looking at 2 vehicle travel lanes, the bike lanes and sidewalks on both sides, and no dedicated on-street parking. And this, again, is just going through the cross-sectional elements and what is being deviated. So again, the bike lane at 5 feet, no on-street parking, no planter strip. The total paved width is slightly reduced to 32 feet, and the total right-of-way width is at 45. So looking at the Stevens Street main line into the Wabash curve, again, those main line improvements will continue, but additionally, the reduced curve radius at that curve will go from what should be 160 feet to 90 feet, so that those improvements can fit in there, but it will be a little bit tighter. So in terms of the Wabash Avenue, kind of main line of Wabash, we do have wider right-of-way in this location, and so that allows for a wider curb-to-curb improvements. We also have, to the north of Ridgeway, some existing curbing that would allow for us to match the curb line as these improvements would lead up to that. So again, 2 travel lanes. In this case, we would be looking at 5-foot bike lanes with a 2-foot buffer because of that additional right-of-way, and 6-foot sidewalk. Again, this provides you with
Hey,
the...
Carla,
Yes,
sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
I can go back.
I had to go find my button.
Hey.
We have a question.
Yes.
Hey, Carla, I don't remember in the planning commission discussion, is there not going to be parking on Wabash either?
There's no parking on Wabash either.
Okay, I knew there was none on Stevens, but I guess I didn't realize there wasn't going to be any on Wabash because it's significantly wider than Stevens.
It's
right?
about 15 feet, if that's correct, right? 45 to 60, 15 feet wider.
But we still can't fit parking on it, or?
Again, I think we were looking at matching those kind of curb improvements, and we heard loud and clear kind of from the November meeting that parking, I don't think parking was ever really an issue on Wabash. We never, the original design stopped short of Ridgeway, and so it wasn't added to the second design, I guess.
Okay, I'll table the rest of my discussion.
Engineer might be able to help with that. Okay. Any other questions before I go? Okay, Wabash, again, just looking at the cross-sectional differences, we're looking again at a 5-foot bike lane with a 2-foot buffer, no on-street parking, a slightly wider sidewalk at 6 feet, and no planter strip. Pearl Street was added into this design number 2. It was actually recommended by someone that lives in the neighborhood, so engineering did go back and take a look at that. We do have existing curb on both sides of Pearl Street, and we are proposing a 5-foot sidewalk only on the west side. So again, the installation of the sidewalk will help provide for a pedestrian connection to Hedrick Middle School. It also, as you can see kind of in the cross-section, there is more of a grade on the eastern side, and so it will be much easier to put the 5-foot sidewalk on the western side. This just gives you an overall feel of the proposed sidewalk kind of in this neighborhood. Everything in green is existing, so you can see there's kind of a patchwork quilt of existing sidewalk happening maybe with, development of homes and things throughout the years. The red indicates where we'll be making all of those connections. So let's talk about parking. Parking's been a big topic of discussion for this project. There's 6 on-street parking spaces that exist on Stevens today. With approval of the project, these spaces will be removed. Other parking areas in front of residences are within existing right-of-way or both within right-of-way and private property. So you can see even some of the pictures show this is existing right-of-way. We have existing cars parked in existing right-of-way. Appears to be, what it looks like their front yard. Based on feedback from the Transportation Commission last week, it was suggested that staff show where parking will be provided with the new improvements. Engineering staff has developed Exhibit CC that shows in red the area provided for off-street parking, so parking on private property, while the green boxes show where on-street parking is or will be available. The properties shown here are corner lots, meaning they have street frontage on 2 streets. So they still do have on-street parking, they just will not have it on Stevens. Moving farther east, again, both of these properties are also corner lots and will have some space on their property while also having access to on-street parking around the corner. So those red boxes are showing where engineering has identified parking off-street. So between Bessie and Pearl, the middle property, it's 1226, 1228, is the only property that is not a corner lot, but space is shown for off-street parking in the front of the existing duplex. The buildings also have garages off of the alley. You can see the little pad that goes into the alley doors. The other properties will have off-street parking space designated as well on the side streets. The complete set showing the on and off-street spaces is provided for you in Exhibit CC. In terms of right-of-way acquisition, looking at the design number 1, we had over 16,000 square feet of right-of-way acquisition that would have been needed. In order to provide for a parking lane on the south, 10 feet was going to be needed on the east, or excuse me, on the north from those properties. With this second design, the parking has been removed to fit all of the elements minus parking within the existing right-of-way for the most part. You can see the yellow is where we will need additional right-of-way for that turn lane at the intersection. And you can see on some of those corners, everything is pretty square, and so there'll be some minor requirements for right-of-way at those intersections. And then the other piece, that's the majority of the right-of-way is at the curve, and this will come from 1299 Stevens Street. You can see that triangle area, as well as some of those other additional intersections that will need the curving for the curbs and those kind of things. Transportation facilities. So there's been a lot of discussion and questions about why the project includes sidewalk and bicycle lanes on both sides and no on-street parking. The TSP notes that the parking lane for a minor collector is optional and that it may be removed to account for other facilities. Sidewalks are required on both sides of the street per the city's municipal code, with some exceptions for other street types. Bicycle lanes are required as part of the city's adopted cross-sections, ORS 366.514, which talks about the functional route of those facilities, and our contract obligations with ODOT for the grant funding as part of this project. This location is context appropriate for sidewalks and bicycle lanes on both sides because of its connection to Hedrick Middle School, transit access along Crater Lake Avenue, and shopping and services to the west.
Hey, Carla.
Oh, sorry.
Question, Carla.
Yes.
So on the bike lanes,
Yes.
is it, so I guess this is where I'm not an expert at this, so is it a requirement to actually have on-street lanes, or is it just a requirement to have like bike capacity? Like would a multi-use path comply with those requirements for bike lanes, or does it have to be on-street lanes per ORS in our contract with ODOT?
Do you want to tackle that? Okay. I'm going to dial a friend on that one.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Dennis Hart, Public Works Engineering. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Each can satisfy that requirement. We analyzed the multi-use trail, and it was a wider footprint than the proposed option we have now. All of our communication with the community sought the smallest footprint possible, so we focused on the elements needed and fit them inside the existing right-of-way.
So is that because you have to have, I mean, are we talking about bike lanes in both directions, or could one multi-use path suffice for that? Is that still more area needed than 2 bike lanes?
The first option that we analyzed was a shared use path on each side, so you'd have 10 feet on each side. That's what we have now when you have the 5-foot bike lane and the 5-foot walking area. The shy distance needed because a multi-use trail has to have, it can't have signs in the way of it, it can't have street lights, poles, mailboxes. You have to have a shy distance away, so that makes the footprint approximately 30 feet to take up 20 feet of improvements that we show now. That was what we analyzed.
So like on McAndrews, we have a single multi-use path on one side and then a sidewalk on the other side. So was that one of the things you guys looked at? Because you had mentioned doing a multi-use path on both sides. But could we have done like a multi-use path on one side and then like we do on McAndrews, for example? Eric has his hand up, I see.
Just because the McAndrews one was litigated in the Jerry Smith case, the city's position in that case is that what you see on the south side of McAndrews is a concrete clear strip and not a functional sidewalk for pedestrians. There are so many utilities there, it's not really functional for pedestrians as well. At least on this length of McAndrews I think you're talking about. By
Fair
the church?
What?
By the church?
Well, actually, I was specifically thinking about up the hill.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if that's close enough to by the church, but.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying the city's official position, Mr. Mitt. So just to go back to this one, unrelated entirely to McAndrews, could you have done a multi-use path on one side and then just a sidewalk on the other side? Would that have provided sufficient, would that have sufficiently met the bike capacity?
I think yes is the answer. It still was a greater footprint than we currently have, so it wasn't pursued.
Okay. I would have to see the picture because I'm not picturing it in my head, but I know that isn't what you guys are presenting to us tonight, so I'll circle back later, but thank you.
All right, we're getting through, I promise. I know it's a lot of slides. Okay, just want to quickly go over the project modifications. Again, we've gone through all the cross-section deviations. Examples include sidewalk width reductions, no planter strips, things like that. In addition, Exhibit X is also looking at the curve radius dimension at Wabash. That would be modified. The addition of 5 new driveways along Stevens Street and 16 curb return radii that deviate from the standard. Public engagement and staff assistance. So we did hold a public open house in October of 2025 at Hedrick. 18 folks were in attendance, 6 written comments that are provided for you in Exhibit E. Some of the summarized comments, so at that time, Oregon Terrace was part of the conversation. There was a lot of discussion about not extending a street through that location, impacts that it would have. There was conversations about the need for sidewalks on Stevens and Wabash in a positive manner, but there was also kind of opposition up against the parking lane on Stevens and that the improvements were too excessive.
What's the parking lane you're talking about that people were against?
I'm sorry? We had an existing parking lane on the south side originally.
Oh, copy.
So there may have been 1 or 2 people that were like, yeah, we don't need that. Oops, sorry, I went too far. Okay, testimony at public hearings. We had our first public hearing in November. We had 8 residents testify that evening with 7 written comments. Those are provided in the record for you, Exhibits G through N. And just again, at that time, Oregon Terrace was still on the table. A lot of opposition to that in terms of just right-of-way acquisition, concerns with property values, just slope and all kinds of different things. But again, support for improvements with modifications, maybe looking at a shared bike facility, vehicle lane, and looking at sidewalks. We then, engineering went back, we modified the design. We came back to the Planning Commission in January. We had 3 residents testify at that time with 2 written comments. Again, support for removal of the Oregon Terrace improvements was reiterated, and there was support for installation of sidewalks on both sides. We also did have a resident testify at the continuance hearing of the City Council in favor of the project. So we did receive the petition yesterday. We have 24 residents that signed in opposition of this proposal. This outlines where those folks live in relationship to the address that was provided on the petition. I wanted to be able to graphically show you kind of where they fall within the project scope. And then in terms of public works communication with residents, this is also highlighting the parcels where engineering staff has been in communication either on the ground, on the phone, in a meeting, at the open house, where they are constantly kind of talking to people and explaining the project and the impacts and those kind of things. All right, recommendations and actions. So this did go to the Transportation Commission. They did recommend approval of the Design 1 with suggested modifications at that time. So again, that takes us all the way back to October. No formal recommendation was requested for this current design from the Transportation Commission. They did review it after the PC made their recommendation. They brought up questions about the no parking lane and the impacts, and they also asked questions about why the bike lanes on both sides versus the multi-use path. The Active Transportation Advisory Committee also reviewed it post and prior, Design 1 and current proposal. They did recommend approval both times. Planning Commission recommendation, they did have a vote of 5-3 for approval on January 8th. Some of the concerns that came from the council or the commissioners that were in opposition really were concerns about the parking impacts without dedicated parking on Stevens, and then the bicycle lanes on both sides and the requirement for that. And I have to say, we did not have the Exhibit CC for them, and so I think that may have at least provided a little bit more information for them at the time. And so that's maybe something that, next time we'll show them that we didn't have it ready for them. But with that, I'm finished and asking for you to make a decision this evening or give us direction to continue or move forward. So approve the resolution as presented, modify the resolution, decline the resolution as you see it, and provide direction to us. Thank you so much. Be happy to answer questions or call it my backup team.
Well, it's not either or though, right?
I'm sorry?
Mike.
I think a couple quick questions. I took a drive up Stephen Street and then back down and then up and then down, up and down, because I'm not an engineer. There, in addition to, I know there are cars parked in the public right-of-way right now. I mean, you can clearly see where they've gotten used to it. It's been going on for years. If it was real estate, it'd be easement by prescription by now. But some of them, a couple of the homes looked to me like there's either, I saw at least one duplex, and I don't think there was a garage, so they're kind of parking in front of the duplex, and another that had a garage. It was an older garage, probably not actually pulling the car in and out, but they were parked in the driveway. And it looked to me like their cars, despite being pulled up as tight as they could to their property, were probably having their tails hang into the right-of-way. Are there properties that are going to be impacted that way, where they can't even park in front of their own garage? I bet you know exactly which ones I'm talking about.
Do you want to go back to those ones? You can go back to there. Okay. Okay. Do you by chance know which properties? This gives you just three of the screenshots, but there are, I think what engineering has tried to do is provide for, an adequate kind of parking space, either side by side or, a one stall that would get them off street and not in the right of way, the new right of way.
Carla,
Sidewalk.
I think it might be that one that's in between the two FE and the alley.
Just the one with the 11-foot driveway right in the front there?
Yeah, I think that's the one I saw today that concerned me.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it was the duplex between Bessie and Pearl. There's another one. I should have written down addresses. Sorry. I know I'm the worst. But you've mitigated by moving parking.
Here's an example.
Do you want to zoom in?
I don't know how to
I am impressed, but it was also cars parked perpendicularly. So I'm sure it wasn't this one, because the one I had seen, that car was parked perpendicular, and this would be clearly jutting out. I guess it's just something, if I was in a home and my only parking was to park perpendicular right up in the front, I understand the concern of I can't even park at my own house. Also in the plan, and again, please forgive me if they're stupid questions, but putting sidewalks, bike lanes down Pearl Street, actually, that makes sense. It's already a route right down by the school. It takes you to Jackson, which has great facilities. Would that also remove all on-street parking on Pearl Street as well? Or do we have the width there to do sidewalk improvements, whatever bikes we need, and keep on-street parking?
May I answer the second one first?
You can do whatever you want, man.
Thank you. Pearl Street is improved, 36-foot curb to curb. So there's parking and travel lanes on each side. 11-foot parking lanes, the 7-foot of parking on each side of the street currently. There's 12-foot of existing right-of-way behind the curb on each side. We want to put a 5-foot sidewalk in that 12-foot area of existing right-of-way, under the street lights and on the west side where the slope is the least, such that retaining walls or smaller retaining walls will be needed to hold that thing up vertically. So there's not much more on Pearl than we want to make connectivity from the new improvements on Stevens to the school with a lit sidewalk path to get them there. Is that
Yeah,
Were there-
I think so, and
did- did he-
on-street parking is retained.
on-street parking is not touched. It's no,
Oh, just
there is
sidewalks
a
down
bike lane
Pearl.
on Pearl in that it's shared with the vehicle lane.
Copy. Okay,
Like
thanks.
a normal standard residential street.
I'll see if I can figure out exactly which properties I had driven by. I don't know if I'm that good, but I'll try.
To speak to this, you can see this, I think we built the alleys in 2013, 7,000 foot of them, and I think it's a 1906 Laurelhurst subdivision that has 2-foot setback from the residence, the building, to the property line. I kind of drew that on there. So it's going to be hard to make improvements up against the right-of-way and not be close to the buildings in a couple cases. And that's, you can see that right there. We'll make sure the sidewalk is low enough such when the screen door opens up, it won't hit the sidewalk. The area there, immediately preceding it to the west, we're looking east, is an alley. And we have provided a parking area in the alley as well as curbside parking in one of the exhibits for the residents here.
Oh my God. Are you saying that the sidewalk is going to go right up to their door to where it opens? Are you kidding me? Okay. Is that correct?
Our best proposal is to fit the improvements inside the right-of-way, and there's about a foot to spare
Okay.
for utility poles. The right-of-way line is drawn there, which is the same as the property line at 2 feet away. So where that tail light would be a back of a sidewalk.
And where are they supposed to park?
We had them parking, there's space down the alley. So every one of these streets, Mary, Bessie, Effie, May, all the way down are intersected with another alley in between them. So there's access
Right.
parking off of the alley onto their properties.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
May I go back to Councilman Cards? I had an exhibit for you. I don't know if I answered all
Mine
your-
or Mike's?
I'm sorry?
Mine or
From
mine?
earlier, yes.
Oh, okay.
From 10 minutes ago.
Sure.
I had an, since this Elmo thing's working. It looks good. So this is the graphics for a cross-section for the skinniest of versions. Wasn't our preferred version, but the same document that tells us a 5-foot bike lane, the Oregon Bike and Ped Design Guide, a 5-foot bike lane on the street as the minimum footprint we use to show what a shared use path on one side would look like. It's 1 foot greater due to the 2-foot side distance at 46 feet. So we'd have to buy some right of way to put the shared use path on one side, separated by a 5-foot planter where we would house all the utilities, street lights, mailboxes, street signs, and then put a single sidewalk on the other side. Operationally, two-way bike traffic and peds are on that 10-foot facility. And staff isn't really fond of that mixing, as well as the 20 or so driveway access points that'll cross that path that could have e-bikes, standard bikes, and things with making potential conflicts. So operationally, we don't have many of those facilities in the city, especially in the high-density areas. Seems problematic, and that's why we sought, when looking at the other alternative, a 10-foot shared use path on each side, but it was going to make a 10-foot wider facility, and so we opted to put the bike lanes onto the street. Like, I have another example, if you don't mind seeing that.
Sure. I actually have a couple questions about this, just so I understand what I'm looking at. The 2-foot shy distance on the outside, you'd mentioned the need of a shy distance for like utilities and stuff, but I feel like, isn't that what the planter's for? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding the drawing.
The design guide requires a 2-foot side distance on each side of the bike facility.
What's the reason? Is that our design guide, or is that?
That's the Oregon Bike and Ped Design Guide. We just built the Larson Creek Trail.
Yeah.
in a similar way. That's just for the moving bikes to be able to recover and not run into something and have some shy distance away. Putting the utilities in the center of the 5-foot planter gives that to us on that side, and then we would need to maintain that mostly through acquisition on the other side.
Is there a way, again, I'm getting into this, and I'm sorry that this wasn't something that I'd asked before, is this shy distance something that we could not do? One of my favorite questions, what if we just don't do it? I mean, because the reason why I'm asking, I guess, is I'm just trying to understand what the limitations are personally, and based on the same conversation we had in the Transportation Commission. To me, it seems like there's a lot of people, myself included, that like the idea of a shared multi-use path. Sun River is one of my favorite places to go. Most of their bike trails are 10-foot wide. There are no other sidewalks. There's no stuff. And I don't ever see, and I see lots of people biking and walking along those trails, and I do not see lots of conflicts in that use. I definitely hear you on the driveways. That is an issue. But the driveway, people crossing driveways, or people coming out of driveways crossing sidewalks, they also have to cross bike lanes too. So there are other ways that those conflicts are realized. So I'm just trying to understand what our limitations are specifically around this multi-use path business, because to me, that is a more of an alternative transportation friendly way of realizing this as opposed to on-street bike lanes. So again, my opinions, but just trying to understand that shy distance.
Fair. I don't know if there's provisions for us to have an exception away from that.
Okay.
Operationally, I think staff isn't preferring this option. There's
Okay.
too many conflicts. If you going back to McAndrews, there's no cross access points at all, save the intersecting streets. Foothill, we struggled with a similar idea. Bikes and peds. Peds don't like bikes. This is just a little bit. They'll mix together. So we put an 8-inch wide curb 2 inches high between those facilities that it's a high enough travel facility to move the bike lane off of the street. We have buffered bike lanes south of there, and then the new section to the north has a fully removed bike lane behind the curb with a sidewalk next to it, and an 8-inch wide curb separating the two, just to keep those two away from one another, because they can mix and cause problems.
Okay.
So the option is there. The overall width was greater. The highest priority was that. What I wanted to highlight,
thank you for amazingly producing this on short notice. I really do appreciate that. That is awesome.
Thank you.
I just wanted to address the shy distance question a little bit. That the actual purpose for that is you can ride on the edge of the pavement with a bicycle, but you got elbows and handlebars that are projecting out to the side, especially if you got two-way traffic on the same path. People are going to tend towards the edge. You want to separate that from pedestrians on the sidewalk. You want to separate that from whatever is on the right side, signs, poles, and all the other vertical stuff.
Yeah. All right.
So we can make an exception, but it's difficult to justify it.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. I think one of the properties was 546 Pearl. So that's on the corner of Pearl and Stevens. I know for sure the duplex, I noticed on my way by, 1226 and 1228. Stevens, that is. Sorry.
I think Dennis has them all printed, so let's see if we can.
Oh, do I have that?
This was
Is that CC? Do I have these? Okay.
Start flipping through your booklet.
Councilor Curlinger, you said 546 Pearl?
I think it was 546 Pearl.
It looks like
just
it's
to the
right at the curve-ish.
just east of Pearl Street.
Again, kind of showing that front paved area or, parking area that could be provided. And then Pearl Street would actually provide that on-street parking in the green.
Okay, so am I understanding this correctly? Oh, that's 546 Pearl. I'm not a total idiot. Is it saying that there's sufficient private parking for them to park their vehicles without?
It's saying there's 22 by 20 foot kind of pad that would provide for off-street, and then there would be the section on-street on Pearl.
Okay, so if I go one page back, I should be seeing the
And there was one more. What was the other address? I'm sorry. Farther west?
1226 and
Oh,
1228.
I think that one's in the presentation. Let me just pull that up.
And that's between Pearl and Bessie, so that must be. I think it's one street east of what you have on the screen right now. One page further in the presentation.
This is so 1226 and 1228, is that correct?
Uh-huh.
Yes, so this one is the only one kind of on this section that does not have street, is it not a corner lot? It has the alley and then it has Stevens Street. So again, it kind of has probably awkward parking that's going to occur in the front. I did the street view of it and you could see there is a car like parked right in front of the house. But this also does have garages in the alley. Not that that solves everything, but there is, or you can see that little concrete pad in the aerial off the alley, though goes into 2 garages.
Okay.
And there's a car right there. You can also see the car parked facing north on the east side of the parking area that's labeled as 35 by 20.
Okay.
All right. This is not your only opportunity to get feedback or get questions answered from staff, but if there's something front of mind, otherwise we'll go to the public hearing and hear from people that are here. Okay. At this point, I will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter, please come forward as called. Please identify yourself for the record before speaking. Winnie?
Okay, would you like me to call 3? Like
Yeah,
we
call 3.
usually do? What's the one slip was for Aaron and David Posht, and then we have Carly Teller, and then Liz Hardy.
And hey, staff, it might be helpful if they identify like where they live, if we could see where that's at on the.
Hopefully this map will at least provide some guidance.
Sure. So what's that?
Would you like me to pull up like MLI, or is this map going to be sufficient?
I think maybe the one with the improvements on it, the plan view, and then, so you have multiple.
Oh, okay.
It's like, go to your presentation part with that. And then if need be, we might have to look at street view or whatever, but yeah.
These ones?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
We can move back and forth.
Let's have our first contestant.
Hi, I'm Erin, and this is my husband, David Posh, and we live at 922 Stevens Street.
922 Stevens. So just a second, can we go to 922 Stevens on the overhead, if that's possible?
It's the picture that had this 25-mile speed limit sign with the car parked in front, and basically
Okay.
the way they're designing it, we open our front door and we're going to be smacking people that are walking down that sidewalk or the bike trail. I don't mind having a bike in a sidewalk, but we only need one. We don't need all the extra stuff that they're doing there. We've been there for
22 years this July.
And never had a problem. We understand there's walking traffic and bike traffic. The wide lane that you're talking, if it's on one side, we've had people sharing the side of a road for as long as we've lived there, and it's not been an issue. So for them to share a walkway, share a bike lane, it shouldn't be, there's not that much traffic. We have more issues with people speeding up and down that lane than they do just, walking and biking. As far as the parking, they're talking about doing it in the alley. Well, the alley that is next to our units is business traffic because we're right behind Lasman's and the main strip of Crater Lake.
Avenue.
So all of those businesses have parking in the back that everybody uses that alley. We're not going to be able to park there unless they widen all of that out, which ends up limiting the parking in the driveway for the unit that's next door to us, that's their way to get into their carport. You got anything to add?
No, I really don't.
I think it's a ridiculous idea. And, we've been there for 22 years. At this point, are we going to end up losing our home just for a sidewalk and an extra bike path? And I don't want to open my door and hit somebody. I really don't.
Thank you. Either one can, whoever wants to. Just introduce yourself, tell us your address, we'll get your resident, or the area of improvement in front of your house, and unless you don't want to.
No, it's fine. My name is Carly Teller. I own the house at 651 Wabash Avenue. I walk that neighborhood every single day. I walk my dog every day, we do miles. Stevens is really dangerous. Have you guys walked up and down Stevens? If not, I would implore you to try it. It is a challenge with the cars, and I think that the reason you don't see more bicycles and pedestrians in that area is there's nowhere for you to go. I love the idea of having a sidewalk. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be on both sides. I mean, I would be happy with one side of a sidewalk, just something to give the people of that neighborhood a place to go. There's a lot of apartment complexes also along Stevens right there. There's a ton of children. There's people that are going to school. There's people that don't have any other transportation. And if we're not giving them a safe place to go, then we're just inviting more accidents. I would love it. I think that it would be great. I really love the idea of connecting the sidewalk. That's my house. Yes, thank you. That's a little bit further down because people just walk through all of our yards, which is fine, but it would be nice to give us all some place to go and feel safe. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Carl Burgoyne. I've owned the corner of Effie and Stevens since '72. I don't currently live there, but I surveyed the people there. 3 of them, my renters, they were all against it. I'm strongly against it because, well, I've fixed up a couple of the 1-bedrooms, and now they're not going to be able to park there on Stevens because you're going to take it out. And to me, there's not that much use on Stevens. I worked there the other day, about a month ago, and I never saw one bicycle go up and down except for a powered one. Electric powered bike. That's all I saw go up and down. There wasn't all that busy of traffic. There is traffic going up there all the time. I've owned the place for a long time, over 50 years, so I've watched the traffic come up and down. And I built 2 of the houses on the corner. And I don't want anything done to it. Put a sidewalk on the other side, but not on my side, and eliminate the parking. Okay. That's mainly what I'm.
Yep, thank you.
Say.
And our next 3? Or how many more do we have, Wendy? How about if you want to come testify, just come line up. Perfect.
Yeah. My name is Denise Straits, and I actually live on Oregon Terrace, just up the way. But I do have concerns about what goes on this street since it's so close to Oregon Terrace. I am against the Stevens Street project. The project started out way too big, but I feel it's still too big. Nobody wants to lose 10 feet of their setback. If this project is done, the city will be spending money to degrade this residential area, I feel. Stevens Street isn't a street with fields on both sides. Stevens Street is a residential area full of houses where hard-working people live. This project is being promoted as an upgrade. Is taking 10 feet of frontage from homeowners an upgrade? Is decreasing security, decreasing home values, decreasing parking, and increasing the potential for crime an upgrade? I don't think it is. Homeowners shouldn't have to give up so much for 2 bike lanes. The amount of people that might choose to bike on a bike lane down Stevens Street is probably never going to be huge. As someone who bikes, and I do love to bike, I do think biking in a bike lane is fairly risky. My sister was hit by a car, and I don't normally bike in bike lanes anymore, mainly because there's now too many distracted drivers. Stevens Street goes through an older neighborhood with houses very close to the road. If this project passes, some of these houses will end up having a sidewalk at their doorstep. I feel this is unacceptable. Nobody should have to have a public sidewalk less than 5 feet from their house. There are laws that limit how close a house can be built on the side of a property. The same rules should apply to frontage projects. Only I feel that frontage projects should be even farther from somebody's house because it's in the front. Let's see. I see no reason why traffic would be increasing on this fairly short street. The area around Stevens Street is already developed. So what would be a reason for increasing traffic on this street in the future? People who come from farther east Medford are more likely to take McAndrews Road, Spring Street, or Jackson Street. And then finally, one of the goals for Medford's transportation system plan is goal number 3, which is livability. It says design and construct transportation facilities to enhance the livability of the city's neighborhoods. I don't feel like this goal is being achieved through this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Hey, Josh Ludlow, property owner of 525 Pearl Street, Medford, Oregon. I wish my wife and son could have been here today. They couldn't, some family things. I've talked to everybody in my neighborhood, and not a single person agrees with the sidewalk on Pearl Street. There is some difference of opinion about Stevens. I kind of understand that one, but especially my personal residents, they're talking about cutting down my 2 massive cedar trees and taking a certain amount of my front yard property, which my door, I have the nicest house in the entire neighborhood. I spent $60,000 investing into this home to remodel it to a certain point. I bought it for $84,000, and it's our forever home. It's gonna decrease our property values. It's gonna make it to where we don't even potentially want to live there anymore. Neighbor Shanti already is selling his house, who's 2 houses down, because of this project. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He thinks it's gonna go through. He's selling his house. Everybody's pretty much upset on my street. And, you know, as far as through traffic for kids riding their bikes, skateboarding, whatever it is, they're using the alleyways all the time. You guys already remodeled that, I think back in 2014, something like that. Asphalt in every single alley from May Street up. Kids are using those all the time, going back and forth to school. I went to Hedrick, I went to Roosevelt. That's my neighborhood. My son is being raised there exactly the same way as I was. You know, it's breaking my family's heart that this is happening. And there hasn't been any mention of any kind of just compensation for taking our property. Nothing like that. And I know there should be something going back to the homeowners of these places that their property is being taken from them through eminent domain. I would just hope that you would consider these things before going through with it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Yep, whoever wants to do it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councilors. My name is Liz Hardy. I live on 625 Wabash Street, and I would like to have a sidewalk on Stevens and Wabash. It is very, very dangerous to walk on Stevens. My mom is 83 years old, and she has to go to work, and I'm always worried about her walking by herself. My nephew was visiting us for Christmas, and he went for a walk, and he's used to a big city like Cleveland, and he always walks, and he said it was so dangerous that he was on the road, and he had to walk on the road because cars were parked on the sidewalk on Stevens, and I'm just afraid to walk on the Stevens anymore now. I've been praying for this project for many years, and it's really, really bad. I feel bad for kids that have to walk by my house all the time, and they're like 7 or 8 years old, and there's no sidewalk for them. I think we have to think about the safety of kids. I understand that some people don't have enough space, but I think we have to be concerned about how kids are walking by themselves, and they have to walk on the road. So I would love if you guys approve to have a sidewalk on Stevens and Wabash. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I had sorry, Mike, 1001 Stevens. Yep. I had this all written out, but it seems that they've changed the plan to where a lot of this doesn't matter anymore because it was about taking people's property. Oh, just Stevens. Yeah.
You went to the wrong city, sorry.
Oh.
It looks like there's plenty of sidewalk there. I don't know what the deal.
Yeah,
What are we
right.
talking about now?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I'd like to just say that I appreciate them reducing the size of the plan to where it seems like they're not going to be taking as much property now, at least not out of necessity. But I still don't know if they're going to be doing anything with my property, and I guess that's one of my main concerns with this whole project is that the communication has been abysmal, in my opinion. I feel like this whole thing should have started out with a survey of the residents and what we think should be done, and it wasn't. Could you go to Jackson Street? What we were presented with was Jackson Street, and they, said it wasn't the largest thing they could put on our street. It's basically straight across from my house. Yeah. Right there, almost in the middle.
Street view?
Yeah, maybe down towards Crater Lake Avenue, all the way in. Yeah, just scrolling right there. Sure. So they wanted to drop this whole street onto Stevens, and you can see Jackson Street is full of businesses. It's not residential. Parking lane, bike lane, sidewalks. There's just no room for it. But they felt it was allowed instead of asking us what we wanted. And I just feel like there should be more input from the residents instead of just going with the biggest, most expensive, most elaborate project allowed. I do feel like we need sidewalks badly. I don't feel like we need bike lanes personally. I ran a business out of my house for 10 years and was able to see the foot traffic increase over the years, and I never really saw a lot of bike use, and that could be because there's no bike lanes. But I suppose my main problem with bike lanes is we're taking away parking and we're increasing the size of the street for maybe no real need. And to what end? Because I would like to ride my bike to where I currently work, but that means I have to go down Crater Lake Avenue. And Stevens is not my worry in that route. It's Crater Lake Avenue. There's no place to ride your bike on that. I think we should be able to ride on the sidewalk, maybe a multi-use path or something like that, but that's not allowed right now. So, yeah, I would just like to say, in the future, we could skip a lot of this process if we just had better communication, we had more input, and we're able to kind of head it off at the pass. We don't need Jackson Street in a residential area. I know you guys have the power say yes or no to a lot of this and even change the rules. I think you guys should do that. I think we should get a sidewalk, maybe a multi-use one on one side of the street. If we can do like a painted bike emblem in the street, I think that would be sufficient. But we definitely don't need the full gamut just because that's what you would like to see in a brand new neighborhood. This is an existing neighborhood with houses already set. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, Frank Drake, 535 Oregon Terrace. I really do appreciate the work that city planning has put into this. I feel like they've kind of been asked to do something that's darn near impossible. And that's kind of the first point. Is it seems like with the grant that requires, my understanding is that it requires bike lanes on both sides of the street. I feel like that's just trying to crowd too much into a neighborhood that's already in existence. If the city has the funds and discretion to just give back the grant that's not already been spent on construction, and just put in one sidewalk on Stevens, I think that would serve the neighborhood well. If bike lanes go in on both sides, that's going to widen the overall paved surface. It's just going to encourage people to drive faster than they already do. People who are jammed up trying to park near their home, like perpendicular, you're going to have bumpers and trash cans on trash day that are protruding out into the bike lanes. That makes bicyclists have to swerve out into the car travel lane to get around. And I ride my bike to work, so I don't see the need for it there. Yeah, Jackson Street is like 2 blocks away, so if you're looking for a good route into town, just go right over to Jackson, and it's got a great place, a great way to get into downtown or out the other way. Listening to a lot of the comments about the downtown bike lanes, that's downtown, that's businesses. You want people to stop and linger. This is not the same kind of neighborhood. And then this is also going to eliminate our functional use of a garage. So our garage that faces Wabash, we're going to have maybe a 5 or so foot embankment for the straight shot out of our garage, is my understanding of this plan, because the bike lane and sidewalk are going to eat up a portion of that right away. So we won't be able to park a trailer in there. We're going to be, it's not the city doing something with their right-of-way, it's the city doing something with their right-of-way and drastically limiting how we can use our house. So yeah, I would be supportive of a sidewalk on Stevens, and you want people to slow down around the corner, put some speed bumps in on Stevens and Wabash. That'll get people to slow down. I mean, we've already had multiple vehicle accidents that have gone into our property, our neighbor's property. So anyhow, thank you for your time and good luck making your decision.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Kristen Adams. I'm the other half of the property at 535 Oregon Terrace at the corner of Stevens and Wabash. I've attended both prior Planning Commission meetings, and I appreciate the changes that have been made in response to public concerns. But I still believe that the current proposal has too much negative impact on neighborhood residents. While the goal of pedestrian and cyclist safety is important, the current proposal feels disconnected from the lived reality of residents in this neighborhood. Improvements should enhance quality of life, not diminish it, and a lot of us are struggling to see how this plan does that. You've heard the concern about parking, cars being pushed into surrounding streets, including ones whose residents have not been adequately informed about this proposal, with the result being crowded streets, increased tension between neighbors, and vehicle security concerns. And as Frank just shared, the impact on our property, the proposed changes to our front driveway will eliminate the ability to use our garage as we currently do for parking a raft trailer, and will make parking even a small standard vehicle very cumbersome. It's not a minor inconvenience, it's a permanent loss of functionality to our home. Adding to this concern is just the general uneasy feeling of operating on what seems like a handshake agreement of what the final plan for our property might be, with no written guarantees or blueprints at this point. I also have a broader concern about process and priorities and long-term impact. Are we building the best possible plan for this neighborhood, or are we simply building what the grant funding requires? The requirements being to put in sidewalks within just a few feet of many homes, which will permanently alter the character that drew people to their homes in the first place. These changes raise legitimate concerns about reduced property values as homes lose green space, privacy, parking, and visual appeal. So in my opinion, grant money should be a tool to serve the residents, not a reason to accept a less than ideal project design. I currently walk to work at Hedrick Middle School, and I frequently ride my bike from the house. So I very much appreciate the intention to improve cyclist and pedestrian safety in this area. However, the current proposal with 2 bike lanes and 2 sidewalks just has too large of repercussions for properties. I believe a single sidewalk and shared lane markings for bicycles would accomplish safety goals while minimizing the project's overall footprint and impact on residents. When residents are losing parking, landscaping, outdoor space, and practical use of their property, I think it's reasonable to ask the council to reconsider whether this design truly reflects the needs and the voices of the neighborhood. Thank you for your consideration of these concerns and your ongoing commitment to the citizens of Medford. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just real quick, ma'am.
Ma'am, when you bike to Hedrick, do you go down Oregon Terrace or do you go down Pearl?
When I walk to Hedrick, I go down Oregon Terrace.
Okay.
When I bike, depends on where I'm going, but I've gone down Stevens dozens of times.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Just as another quick check, anyone else to testify? All right, seeing no further testimony, I will close the public hearing. And just kind of set a little bit of the stage here for this. We've heard a lot. Clearly, we're going to have more questions for staff. Just, I guess, big picture is we have a neighborhood with no sidewalks, fairly well connected to commercial center. The real goal here is to be able to provide better pedestrian and bike access from a residential neighborhood to this commercial area. I think if we keep the goal in mind and then we process through what that looks like, we'll be moving in the right direction, assuming everyone agrees with that goal. That being said, questions for staff after testimony? Mike?
Are we actually exercising any eminent domain in any of these plans, or just usage of the existing right-of-way?
So we had a couple of slides that show where we're doing about 2,600 square feet of right-of-way acquisition. We would be purchasing it. So there's no eminent domain.
Okay.
So we would be purchasing it fair market value.
And that's primarily in regards to the intersection with Crater Lake Avenue, right? Is that where
There
that
was, yes, I can show you that one.
Okay.
And then the curve on Wabash, and then the intersections with the side streets.
John, did you have a follow-up for that?
I just also wanted to clarify that there was a comment on Pearl that we would be exercising eminent domain. That sidewalk's being located entirely within the right-of-way that is already city easement.
Okay. I'm not being, to people who testified, I'm not being tongue-in-cheek about a technicality. I did want to know, is it an improvement to existing right-of-way?
That is correct.
I'm not automatically saying that the impact is acceptable because of that, but it's different circumstances. How, you may have said this, so I got a lot of info. How much in grant funds have we received, or are we anticipating receiving for this project?
2.4, but I'm going to turn around and make sure that's correct. 2.4? 2.7?
I believe it's 2.1 with a $600,000 match. So 2.7 total, but 2.1 grant funds for us, 2.1 million.
And what's the total cost of the project?
Budget currently has it estimated at 4 million.
Okay, then we got Garrett, then John Quinn.
Turning back to the eminent domain question,
Sure.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding precisely. We need to acquire some property to finalize this project. With the acquisitions we're talking about, have these property owners been approached? Like, are they agreeable to the acquisition, or are we going to exercise government powers to force acquisition?
Typically, engineering goes out to those property owners and speaks with them, and then agreements are made and all of that. We haven't done eminent domain.
Okay. Mr.
And just as a matter of timing, we figure out what we're building through this land use process before we approach property owners and say, this is the land that we'd be acquiring. Then we go into a negotiation. 99% of the time, we're able to work out a number that is fair. And if there's ultimately deadlock, there's eminent domain. But we typically don't begin those negotiations until we've got a finalized design as to what we actually need.
Okay. For any of that, the owners would get a fair market value for the land that's purchased or acquired.
Absolutely. That's a requirement under Oregon law.
Okay.
So these funds are grant funds, and we are required to follow the rules of the Uniform Relocation Act. That's a very extensive process. Property has to be appraised, fair market value has to be paid for it. And as Eric said, we're not started this process, but Alex, how long you worked here? 26 years? 25 years, we have not exercised eminent domain for any project.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Thank you. And then regarding the grant request, or the grant that's been issued, does it require sidewalks and or both bike lanes on both sides? Or like, what's the kind of standard we're looking at?
My understanding is on both sides, but do you want to? I'm going to ask for help on that one.
Thanks.
This one's gone back and forth, so. Sidewalks and bike lanes on both sides as part of the grant.
Yes, our code requires sidewalks on both sides, and as does the Oregon bike law that we followed with.
Sorry, I'm talking about the grant. So I understand our code requires it. I guess I'm a little unclear as to what the grant triggers are.
Mayor, Council, Alex Georgievich, City Engineer. When we applied for the grant, we followed our code, so the grant shows both bicycle and pedestrian facilities on both sides of the road. Now, if Council directs us to put a multi-use path on one side, I believe that would still be within the allowable grant parameters, but we would want to check with ODOT prior to final decision on that.
Thank you, sir.
So the process would be offer to buy the pieces of land that we need first. If that doesn't work, then eminent domain. And then I guess the court would set the fair market value in their own mind of what we would be acquiring. That's what I'm understanding, Eric?
Yes, but as John Vile said, it would be unprecedented in a project like this for us to not be able to come up with a fair market value number that is satisfactory without going into that.
I understand that, but fair market value is an interesting concept. Do you judge it based on the square footage of the land, or do you also consider what's effectively the inverse condemnation, i.e. damage, to the adjacent property?
If you, and in a project like this, I've never seen it, but on Foothill, where we're dealing with some of the large orchards, there were actually some processes. Fair market value addresses both the square footage and also any change in use or limitation of available use based on the loss of that. So if they want to redevelop but they lose the ability to build a unit, that is part of the fair market value analysis.
Or if they happen to open their screen door into a bike lane.
I'll just add to that the process is you have to pay fair market value for the land, for any improvements, and then there's also a process to pay for damages to the property. And that's a subjective item, but you are required to pay for that.
Well, I understand how it works, John, but thank you. But fair market value, according to a judge, can be entirely different than fair market value to someone who opens their screen into a bike lane. And I guess you get stuck with whatever the judge says it is. And that, we both have litigated enough to know that that's a hit or miss proposition.
To clarify, it's decided by a jury, but yes, that is a subjective call.
You get a jury in eminent domain, I'll be darned. Even worse.
Okay, so I got Kevin, then voice Kevin.
Okay. It seems, we mentioned our goal is good access to this area of the city, but I think just as important is maintaining the quality of life and value of the properties that we're affecting here. And again, we come back to this, is it safer to have bike lanes on both sides or to have people parking and putting garbage cans and opening their door into bike lanes if we have them on both sides? I'd definitely be in favor of at least exploring how our code can allow for just one bike lane on that entire stretch and then making life easier for the homeowners as well.
Kevin Stein?
Thank you. I remember a discussion about a similar discussion on Lozier. And I'm wondering if city staff can give us a little bit background, those that have been around a little while, about how that went, because I do remember quite a lot of citizens having concerns about redeveloping Lozier, and as you look at it now, Lozier is a very nice road, in my opinion.
Thank you, Councilman. We built a major collector on Lozier, which is a wider facility, 44 feet curb to curb, bike lanes, 5-foot bike lanes on each side, center turn lane and a travel lane each way, and sidewalks curb tight each way. There was no room for planter strips. 90 homes were up against the facility, 4,400 foot long from West Main to Stewart. And it seems like it's working just fine at this point.
So I guess the big difference is there was far more to work with in terms of size of the street. Nick mentioned the Sun River. I would also mention the Bear Creek Greenway, where we have shared use between bike and pedestrian, and it's very successful. When I'm looking at this, that's the kind of thing that I would like to see. I know the current one seems bigger, but if there was a method to make it where it was just on one side, I think that'd be maybe the best way forward. Thank you.
All right. Other questions? Yeah, all right, we'll have a comment. Yes, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So I drove up and down Stevens a couple times today chewing on this, and one thing that stuck out to me wasn't just the amount of parking that people were using that would be gone with this, but there was a lot of trailers. I mean, it seems like a lot of people on that street have trailers for different purposes, whether it's work or personal, and I really didn't see any method forward for them to continue to have trailers on that street with the way things are. I'm really concerned about the loss of parking, and that really is just potentially going to create other problems in the neighborhood with that. The problem's just going to shift somewhere else and become someone else's problem. And I, until today, did not realize the situation with the sidewalk up to the door, which was really disturbing to me. So my recommendation is going to be to send this back and look for an alternative solution.
Mr. Card, then Mr. Curlinger, then Mr. West.
I have opinions, surprise, surprise. So, one of the things what my first exposure to this project was at a Transportation Commission meeting a couple weeks ago. And one of the things that really surprised me about the conversation was that transportation's sort of, to summarize, was kind of like, thank God we don't have to vote on this, so it's not our problem. Because there are a lot of concerns around this project. I think to the mayor's earlier point, though, that we cannot lose sight of is the value of putting sidewalks or other forms of pedestrian or bike transportation onto a street like Stevens. This is one of those old meets new kind of problems. This is a street that's basically built out. I mean, maybe at some point in the future development may further densify the area around Stevens. But at this point in time, it's not like there's a bunch of empty land that's going to suddenly dump tons of new people after a big neighborhood is developed. This is a mostly built out area. And looking at the traffic volumes for this street, this is also a street that functions much more closely to a residential street than it does the sort of proposal that we're looking at today of this, what's the category? I forget all the categories. Minor collector? Is that what you said? Yes, minor collector. And I understand the volumes are kind of right there. But so when I look at Stevens, the thing that jumps out to me is this is exactly the kind of street that we should be as creative as possible towards, as opposed to being rigid with our proposals. I understand the position that we are in when we're working with the state, when we're working with our own code. We do the best we can to predict the needs of the future. And we write into our code proposals that are our best guess at what makes sense as we build out our city into the future. But when we're faced with existing development, when we're faced with existing use of this space, I feel like I get this nagging feeling of trying to squeeze a square peg into a round hole. And I understand we've made accommodations, we're shrinking some of the things, and I have to commend staff for being willing to come to the table with different ideas and different proposals to try to do the best that we can. But at the end of the day, it still feels awfully square, the peg that we're trying to squeeze through this round hole, that is. I think about Stevens in terms of this parking issue. I think about the comments that were made, the gentleman that lived on Pearl. By the way, I was looking at Street View. Your trees are beautiful. I would hate to see those things cut down. So I share that frustration with you because, obviously we can't stop progress for a couple trees, but I also would hate to cost a couple trees if we didn't have to. And so to the point of that, though, is that I see this as sort of how do I want to put this? It's a taking, but in a different way. And yes, this is a right-of-way that the city has, that the city specifically set aside so that as the city grows and as our needs grow, we have right-of-way to be able to put in infrastructure. At the same time, we also have to recognize that this right-of-way gets used as if it were private property again and again. This is a challenge we are facing right now in front of us with Stevens. I can think of a dozen other streets in just Ward 4 alone that this is also going to be a problem for. I do not envy our Northeast councilors when Spring Street comes before this body, because that is going to be a nightmare that Stevens Street could only dream of being for us. So all that to be said, the way I would like to do, and the way I look at this project is, I think as council, what we should be doing is being clear to our staff, being clear to planning, that we want you to push the limits of what we can do with this. Do not treat our code as an unchangeable barrier that you must comply with, but rather you have a council that's willing to take action to modify our code, to create new ideas, to enable new alternatives, so that we can recognize that some streets like Stevens that may just not be a good fit for what we have tried to accomplish. And so my recommendation is, with that in mind, we send this back to planning so that they can look for these alternatives. They recognize this residential need and look at things like the multi-use path. How can we fit that in by being willing to flex with some of our right-of-way, as well as, I think, the public engagement process. This is something that I know we all struggle with. I'm sure staff cringes when we have these meetings because, as those of you who are in the audience today heard, Main Street. We've been talking about Main Street for a long time. And we voted on Main Street. And what happened? A bunch of people who were upset with our decision after the fact came and gave us their opinion. And this is a constant challenge that we face in public engagement. It's easy to be upset when things don't go the way you want them to, and it's easy to just be focused on what you're doing with your life, the challenges you've got to do. You got to get your kids up in the morning, you got to get to work, you got to do all that kind of stuff. And you see those signs in your neighborhood and you don't think anything of them because you're running late to work and your kid's sick and who knows what's going on in your life. And so when we try to do this kind of outreach, we've always struggled. This is not a Medford problem, this is a public service problem about bridging that gap to the public. So I really commend everyone who came today to share your thoughts and opinions on this kind of a thing. And to me, I think it reflects every single one of your comments to me is a learning opportunity for us to do a better job as we move into the future about improving our public outreach process. And I hope we can take some of those lessons and use that as we do a more robust alternative search and planning. So anyway, those are my comments. That's my recommendation. And I'll later on be making a motion to make that. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Very well said. Mr. Curlinger? Did I say you first? But that's fine. Okay, good.
I did want to commend everyone who came and gave their opinion to us. We really do appreciate it. We do hear you, and we especially appreciate you sharing the problems you think there's going to be. I know there is some frustration this evening about, why wasn't there a neighborhood meeting first, things like that, and Nick talked about, our public engagement process. So I do commend you for doing your duty as residents and citizens to come to talk to us. And I did want to thank staff because they seem to have gone through a tremendous effort to modify these plans, to take critiques into consideration, to try and find something that's more workable than what we started with. And that's really our goal, right? To try and help as many people as possible. At the beginning of the meeting, I did mention that I've walked down this road before. I've done a site visit. I went to Hedrick Middle School, right? And so I had tons of friends who walked down Stevens every day. They had to cross Crater Lake Avenue to get to the apartments on Royal where they lived. It's very important to me that those kids have safe places to walk to get home because most of those are latchkey kids, right? They don't have someone to drive them home every day, and the bus isn't going to drop them off over there. And having walked down that road, I don't think it's safe right now. I want to find some solution to make it feel safe for people to walk down it and to ride their bikes down it, because I think that helps the entire neighborhood and the entire city. There was a comment about how kids are using the alleyways a lot right now. That does make me feel concerned that they don't feel safe to walk down the proper roads and are instead going down the alleyways. So I do want to find a solution to that. My main concern this evening, after hearing all the testimony, concerned 922 Stevens and 1016 Stevens, which are near the intersection of Crater Lake Avenue. Under the current design, the sidewalks will be too close to these homes, so that when these residents open their doors, the public will be right there. So I want to find a solution to that. I would support a motion to postpone or motion to continue or a motion to send this back to resolve that area in particular. I'm definitely open to talking about a multi-use path or some kind of redesign. The comments about the lack of parking on Stevens Street in particular are less persuasive to me because there are all these side streets. There are an incredible amount of side streets here in which there does seem to be a lot of parking. That being said, I want to minimize the impacts to residents as much as possible. So that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I don't think I'm prepared to approve this evening. Thank you.
So I think, I'm sure all of us have, or all of you have, lots of thoughts, lots of things to share, but I will just ask with a kind of a general head nod. We will do an actual motion for sure. Does council feel prepared to vote on a design tonight? Okay. Okay, so I think we've got our path forward for what or at least our next step identified. A question for staff. Would it be, either one, whoever, would it be preferred to have a study session with council before anything else occurs?
Sorry, I'm concurring with engineering staff. Do you want to do a study session? Yeah, I think a study session once there's a redesign.
Or do
That-
you
if
want
that
any
makes sense.
kind of that feed? Do you have enough? Sorry, go ahead, John.
Mr. Mayor, what I would suggest is if there's things that council would desire staff to work on immediately, provide that direction tonight. And staff, if you have some thoughts on things, Garrett mentioned a few things, provide that direction tonight or those suggestions tonight. Staff can prepare some stuff and then we can schedule a study session to see how we can respond to that. Because otherwise we're going to have a meeting and kind of talk about this same thing that we're already talking about. If you have some thoughts to how to change it, make those.
Are you have a, and then I can make a motion. So let me go with
question about for John.
Okay, you do that real quick.
Yeah.
Follow up.
So this is Dawn, either for you or staff. Would the request be to basically keep this with council until we solve this problem, or would you want us to send this back to planning and solve it there, or what kind of? I mean, because it doesn't matter to me. I mean, if we want to solve this or we want to make planning solve this, like my goal is to do this efficiently because I do recognize the need for the sidewalks, and I'd really rather get them built now than not. But that's got to be part of a holistic design.
So I'm going to defer for legality reasons to Eric. Can this stay with council or does it have to be kicked back to planning commission?
I think it can stay with council. It did go through planning. They made a recommendation. Council is never required to adopt that recommendation. As part of the process, council always retains the ability to change the recommendation when it gets in. I don't see why if we make a modification here, we would have to go back to planning commission as a legal matter.
So given that, my recommendation would be to leave it here because you're the ultimate decision maker.
Yeah, and I think one of my thoughts would be if council has thoughts, get those worked out, not to necessarily avoid going back to plan. And I'm not trying to drag this out for you guys. I mean, by the way, it's 45 foot of right of way, and you got utilities, you got driveways, you got parking, you got bike lanes, you got signals. It's tough. Yeah, it's a tough one. And it's much easier to sit here and not be satisfied than it is to try to fix that one. I can promise you that. They're up against it on this, and we, I think, owe it to them to help, I guess, provide whatever that is a little bit clearer. Whether or not that needs to go back to planning, I am not saying one way or another.
Procedural question for you, Eric. Can we continue this to a date uncertain, or how would that work?
So if we go to a date uncertain, then we'll need to renotice it before it comes here. If we go to a date certain, we can always punt it again at that date certain if we're not ready.
Okay, so just hypothetically speaking, let's assume council wants to continue this. What kind of a date certain would planning or would staff want to see?
1 month? Okay, probably to the first meeting in March.
At least.
Well, can you give us a second to deliberate on,
Yeah,
like, kind
absolutely.
of just timing? If we're going to do a study session first,
Yeah.
we probably should kind of figure out that date and then identify maybe like
Yeah.
an April date or a May
no,
date.
that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
And so I still have a question from you, and then a question from you, and
Yeah, I have a question.
yeah. Okay.
Input from the planning commissioner that we'd rather renotice so that everyone's informed. There's obviously some administrative cost, but we're willing to eat it on this project.
So it'd be an continuance indefinitely until we come back.
Mike?
Yeah, I still wanted to pontificate. I just wanted to be
Oh,
polite
okay.
and let Garrett go first. Yeah. I understand the concerns that are coming up from the people who live up and down Stevens. Also, staff, you're put in an impossible situation. The challenging part with this, and Nick stole my phrase that I invented about a square peg in a round hole. No one had ever used it before tonight. But the fact is, like, we're trying to enforce modern street standards on a street that is not modern. Modern street standards, we all recognize, are the best. We're constantly updating those standards to make them as safe and multi-purposeful as we can. So yeah, we want to see as many of those as we can on all of our streets, because that's what makes the street safer and cleaner and prettier. But we can't always fit all those features in. If you bought a house when I help people with their houses, I'm like, if you buy a house from 1980, it's not going to have all the same features as a house from 2020. You just got to be okay with that. But to couple with that is, as the city changes and the population changes, our needs do change. I understand a lot of people are saying, well, we've been there for a long time and we've been fine without it. Our population's age is changing, the kids are changing, the modes of transportation are changing, the population of the schools is changing. We do need to have some flexibility and say what worked in the 70s and the 90s may not work going into the 2020s. That doesn't mean we blow everything up. It also doesn't mean we never change anything. And I think what we need to find here is the most reasonable compromise. I've been up and down Stevens. I'm going to speak anecdotally because I don't live on Stevens, and I'm very sensitive to that. It gets a fair amount of traffic. It's not super safe for kids. I mean, this is a part of town where younger families are buying their first homes. And if some of the new homeowners who are present are saying, hey, we don't really feel safe with our kids, that's detrimental to the neighborhood. Does that mean those people get to trump the legacy residents? No. It means we find a compromise that works as well as possible for as many people as we can who are sharing the communities that we're in. I am skeptical, someone else shared, I'm skeptical of the capacity for the alleys to absorb this extra parking. They're small. They're not designed for like parking on both sides with people coming and going from those. I'm not a designer, but that's just one of my concerns. And I do think I'm going to support the decision to punt it back and look for a pared down version. From looking on the overheads and driving up and down, I feel like the north side probably has a little more capacity to absorb some sidewalks. That would be less impactful than the south side. I'm also just going to be totally honest. I commend staff for being so proactive in going out to get this grant. But if the grant is tying our hands, then I don't want to use it. I mean, anytime someone offers me money, the answer is always going to be like, well, yeah, sure. What do you want for it? And the trade-off may not be worth it. In this case, if it's having too detrimental of an impact on the neighborhood in there. I love the idea of, at the very least, sidewalks. I would like to try to retain some street parking for the residents. It's a little bit of give and take. You know, when I used to work at Starbucks and some guy came in and ordered an extra shot and I charged him for him and he was like, well, Jessica never charges me for that. I'm like, well, Jessica's being nice, but this technically is what's correct. So the right-of-way does exist for a purpose. I think it might be a little vindictive to say suck it up. But I think we need to find that best compromise. And I heard Jess, so I'll shut up.
John, then Kevin, and then I think a motion would be in order.
First of all, I wanted to thank the members of the public that came. You guys are awesome, and you guys did the exact opposite of what the Main Street people did. They didn't show up, and then they complained. You've stayed with us, and we're listening, 100%. So you guys are awesome. Stay tuned, stay with us, keep telling us what you think. Staff is awesome, and I was a little bit curt with Mr. Minton, but he's ultra awesome, and I did not mean to be. I just don't have a lot of trust in every jury and every judge deciding what's worth what in an individual's life. Good luck with that. So that was my frustration. Shouldn't have vented that at Eric. Staff is also awesome. And I urge you to think about two things. One, think outside the box. We can change the law. If this one doesn't fit and doesn't work, we can tweak the code. And secondly, we learned from Main Street that just because we're offered a grant doesn't mean we have to take it, because sometimes we end up with something that no one likes. So those are two thoughts. That's what I have to say. I'm not going to have a filibuster.
Yeah, I just want to clarify the multi-use lane. I just think it would be fine to have one sidewalk on one side with a bike lane on one side, maybe a very small one on the other, but if it would save us a number of feet, I'd be definitely for that.
All right. Do you have a motion, Mr. Card?
I've tried to do the best of capturing everyone's notes in here, but I'll add a et cetera to the end of it. Here we go. I move to continue this matter indefinitely and direct staff to consider alternatives that reflect the true residential nature of this street, evaluate multi-use paths, including reducing or eliminating shy distance and planter strips to minimize total right-of-way, and conduct a robust public engagement process to ensure community buy-in. And assess impacts near the intersection with Crater Lake Avenue.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion by Nick Card, second by Garrett West. We've had tons of discussion. I'm going to call the roll.
Nick Card.
Yes.
Garrett West.
Yes.
Kevin Stein.
Oh.
Yes.
John Quinn.
Yes.
Kevin Keating.
Yes.
Mike Curlinger.
Yes.
Jessica Ayers.
Yes.
And Zach Smith.
Yes.
We have 8 yes.
All right, that passes. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We are on to council business, but first, there is a proclamation tonight for Black History Month.
Dude,
And
Just a little extra.
well, yeah,
It's
hold
about-
on, I'm
it's
not
about
doing that
this
just yet.
Okay. Mr. Mitten, can you, are we allowed to discuss Stevens Street with each other, or are we prohibited from doing that?
It would be, so there's 2 separate issues there. It wouldn't be ex parte, but it could be a serial meeting, because if just 2 of you are interested in Stevens Street and talk with each other, we're good. But I think more than just 2 of you are interested. And if we start to have a lot of side conversations, then all it takes is linking 5 voting members, and we have an illegal serial meeting. So please save it for the study session.
Thank you.
Okay, so whereas Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements of Black Americans and a time to recognize the role Black Americans have had in U.S. history. And whereas since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month and has devoted this month to celebrate Black history. And whereas Black History Month is a time for all Americans to remember the contributions and legacy of those who helped build our nation, fought against prejudice, and secured opportunities for all citizens by advancing the cause of civil rights for all Americans, which strengthens our communities. Now therefore I, Michael Starazinski, Mayor of Medford, do hereby proclaim February as Black History Month in the city of Medford and urge all citizens to join us in this observance. Madame.
And now it's time for the council officers report. Topic 1 was parklets. It was suggested by a counselor that we should look at the parklets program in conjunction with Main Street reconfiguration. So that idea didn't get much traction in the meeting. So I would encourage that counselor to request some additional information from staff and or the public if we want to continue that conversation further. Some really good news about the 4th of July. Parks came back and proposes utilizing Rogue X for the 250th America Birthday celebration that would look like an open house with a community picnic, free activities, including swimming, hot dogs, probably about 1 to 3 in the afternoon to avoid conflicting with other celebratory events. The budget is expected to be approximately $10,000. So staff is going to come back with some potential options of how we can look to fund that. So that will come before us in the future. And then lastly, put out an RFP for city manager search to different firms. Bonnie set a meeting with the search committee to review those options on the 24th. And that's it.
Any community reports to share? Anybody go anywhere?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Stein.
Thank you. Just noting that the Public Art Selection Committee is now full. Parks and Rec make the recommendations for appointees of Adrian Chavez and Stephanie Swimmer. And You mentioned funding for the July 4th thing. One, I'm really happy that Rich has come up with a way to make it happen, and I would highly encourage us to use council community vision funds as a main option, because that sounds like a great use of funds for that. Thank you.
Yep, Mr. Card.
A couple updates. First, earlier today, Mr. Curlinger, Mr. West, and myself met with our hotelier group reps to give an update on the Creekside Quarter project, get a lot of questions from the community, so that was a really good opportunity and good touch point for us. A lot of the discussion was around the meeting that we have coming up to talk about the stadium, and so there's that upcoming off-ramp. Community is waiting and is excited to see what's coming forward with that. Also, to keep you apprised, the Rogue Valley Area Committee on Transportation, RV Act, which is the state-level regional transportation body, we are currently in the process of providing recommendations for sort of the priority list that's going to go to the state. Staff provided me a list of priority projects. I'm going to be meeting with them coming up, and then we will be putting that forward in another subcommittee meeting. So far, the projects that have been identified, Medford has gotten a couple key projects in the priority list, but there's still more to come, and we're making sure that we're getting the key projects like the South Stage Interchange. My goal is to ensure that that stays in the process as we move forward. That's an important thing for our area, and we are focusing on that one as I'm pointing at Mr. Worth in the audience. So, thank you.
Mr. West?
Let's see. Was it this week? We met with Medford School District.
You're stealing my thunder.
Oh, you can go for it.
No,
I have
you can
other
do
things
it.
to talk
Let's
about.
see.
No.
Let's see what you got to say.
I'll talk about RCC. We met with the president of RCC, who was kind enough to take the time, along with various staff members, and we talked about training students for a future workforce and different types of economies that Southern Oregon is looking into growing into. I also attended the Medford Water Commission today, where Jason Anderson was elected chair. Brian Shotun was sworn in as the newest member of the Water Board. Bonnie was kind enough to come and give a presentation to the Water Commission on, I think it's on our general presentation about respecting others and treating staff with respect to members of the public that we've encouraged HR to give to all of our boards and commissions. So thank you, Bonnie. And I did want to report that we do have a low snowpack, shockingly enough, so things aren't looking too great for the year. So I think that's all the meetings I've gone to. So thank you.
Oh, may I have this back now? Okay, so we also met with the Medford School District staff and Councilor West and I, and we discussed a few things, including the intergovernmental agreement that we have with the school district is coming due, so that's going to be reevaluated soon. There was an update on the Safe Routes to School project and how that's going. Of course, we talked about the North Medford Gym. Finally getting close with the insurance company, so construction on that will hopefully start soon. And then there's just been a lot of false alarm activations due to construction and stuff. That's been an ongoing problem, so they're working on fixing that with the alarm company, because obviously that is a problem for a lot of people, especially parents who get worried when they think something bad's going on at school. So that'll do it. Any other committee reports that we need to talk about? Oh, okay. I will turn it over to Councilor West.
So I did want to take a moment to talk about Wanda Olsrud, who passed away this last December, as I promised to bring this before everyone. So Wanda and her husband Sherm spent decades in investing directly in Medford and the greater Southern Oregon community. They supported 4-H and FFA for years, buying livestock from local kids and making sure that young people were taken care of. They funded the Olsrud Arena at the Expo so youth programs could grow and succeed. They rebuilt the Bear Creek Park Playground, a place that generations of Medford kids have grown up, including myself. Through Sherm's markets like Food for Less and Thunderbird, Wanda helped feed our region. donating food to schools and to Access over many years. When I was a student, they donated to countless student clubs and activities, which made those activities, those after-school activities, possible because the only way to get high schoolers to go to places was with food. The Olsroods also made one of the most significant healthcare investments in Southern Oregon's history, supporting women's and children's healthcare, cancer treatment, mental health services, and a lot more through their gifts to Asante. Ultimately, Wanda's contributions to our community are too numerous to list. She lived a life defined by action, humility, and care for others. Medford and Southern Oregon as a whole are better places because she was here, and she will be deeply, deeply missed. And for those reasons, I move that Wanda Olsrood be added to the community wall of remembrance.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed to that? I should think not. Okay, that motion passes.
So we do have a few staff reports to get through, which are all very good and important. It is quarter till. Does anyone need to take a break? Just a small one? All right, so let's go 5-ish. Okay, we're in recess. Sorry. Well, yeah. Anyway, 5-minute break. Whatever recess meant. Okay, let's kick it back off. We are now back in order, starting with staff reports. 110.1, Mr. Vile.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we do have 3 staff reports. First up will be our good municipal court judge, Virginia Greer, who will be giving us a state of the court report. Following Judge Greer, Rich Rosenthal, our Parks and Recreation Facility Manager, has provided some information in your packet regarding the economic impact of 2 of our largest venues, and he's going to give a quick report on that. And then lastly, Christina Johnson is going to highlight the changes that we have made to our federal legislative agenda, and then I will be asking you just to approve that as our agenda for this year. Judge Greer.
All right, let's try that again. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Virginia Greer, Municipal Court Judge. To give you a quick overview, and I am going to do a quick overview of the state of the court over the last year and kind of what we're looking for the next year. I did provide you with a fairly lengthy memo that goes into a lot more detail, so I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights, and if you have any questions, I'm, of course, am happy to answer those as well. So, like I said, we're going to go over the caseload in the municipal court, go over what we've been doing for the last year, look at our future court programs, and I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions. As you can see, our case filings for the last year went up about 3,500 cases. That's a pretty steady trajectory for us over the last decade. There's only been a few hiccups, especially noted in the COVID times where our case numbers went down. But beyond that, they have been going consistently up every single year. For our criminal cases, what we saw most of last year were prohibited camping and trespass took over more than 50% of what we dealt with. Most of those obviously would be from the downtown corridor in the exclusion areas. A lot of the trespasses have to do with our retail partners as well. You can see that the thefts, Theft 2 and Theft 3 made up a chunk of that too. Most of that is going to be retail related. And of course we had the disorderly conducts, which were the other big piece of our criminal cases. The list of all the criminal cases that we had go through our court is listed down below, but it's a much smaller amount than the major ones. So highlights from last year, we partnered with the Medford Police Department to set up a new database called Apricot, kind of a silly name, but it's a cool database. We started using it in January, and the really neat thing about it is that it's going to give us actual data for our community outreach programs that I'll go into here in a minute. So I can actually provide you numbers this time next year, which I'm super excited about. We were playing with some of the reports this morning, and they're really interesting. We're able to give you some data on the jail bed usage, who's there, why they're there, that kind of thing. We started doing weddings again in the municipal court. It's the first time that it's been done there for a very long time. There was a need in the community. We had multiple people come to our window asking if we did them. One of our staff members is particularly passionate about this, and so he put together kind of getting this launched, and we have entire procedures around it now and have been doing those, so that's been kind of fun. We have been invited to present at the Co-Responder Conference in Dallas in June. I'll be going with Lieutenant Pietola, Sergeant Antley, and Community Service Officer Vicki Armstrong. We're going to be presenting on what we have affectionately dubbed the Medford model. Basically, on a national stage, we're going to be able to present to other communities that are having issues like we are, what we're doing, why it's working for us, specifically talking about the direct collaboration between the court and the police department and our rather creative usage of the CSO positions and our jail bed. We started this year, it's actually this last month in January, a new alternative court called our Pathway Program. I'll go into more about that in just a few minutes, but the idea is to get people out of our system before they really get established in our system. And through the Harvard data track that the mayor has us involved with, we were given the opportunity to present a proposal to Harvard to acquire a Harvard Fellow for the summer. We were granted that person. We're going to have interviews in the next month or so to select that person. The idea is have them have fresh eyes on the court, fresh eyes on our programs, and hopefully have a focus on a much needed mental health component to our existing court programs. So our existing court programs, we've got a deferred sentencing program, our pathway program, which I've just mentioned we just started, and of course outreach court. So deferred sentencing was a program that existed when I first started here. It was our only alternative pathway when I started in 2023. It's got very little supervision. Basically, the idea is a first-time offender comes into court, they're given an opportunity to keep that conviction off their record by engaging in an online class. They pay a fine, they do any restitution that needs to be paid, and then that is dismissed and off their record, kind of getting them out of our system without having that hanging around their neck. There was a real need, a real gap between that and just a straight conviction. So the deferred sentencing program was very limited in terms of the people that were allowed to participate in it. We saw a real need for people to have a little bit more flexibility, and so we created the Pathway program. The idea behind it is that it'll be these people that have maybe multiple touch points in the criminal justice system and are maybe starting to gather a little bit more steam in their behavior. Get in touch with them early, be able to give them wraparound services, get them out of our system before they really get established. An example would be we had a lady come into court last week before. She had a DUI in circuit court. She had picked up a couple alcohol-related issues in municipal court. She elected to go through the Pathway program. Our program managers are working with her for drug and alcohol treatment. She was underemployed, so we're working on getting her employment. And she's part of this program for her is education engagement in order to get more of that job training. So it's a year-long probationary period. Once that's done, once restitution has been paid, once she's complied with everything that needs to be done in her particular program, and they are all individualized, then these cases will be dismissed, and hopefully she'll be able to move forward without some of the bigger convictions that she's looking at. And of course, we have outreach court. We're entering into our third year of outreach court now. It has been very well received. We are currently rotating between United Way, Recovery Cafe, and Goodwill. We had a great attendance at Recovery Cafe and a great attendance at Goodwill last month. So we're looking forward to seeing where this goes for the next year and actually being able to report on numbers next time with our new database. Looking forward, we're going to start working on livability court. We've had multiple meetings with community partners on standing up this court, trying to figure out some housing situations, trying to get some bridging opportunities for people as they come out of our municipal beds, being able to get them immediately housed, and Access is working with us really very well with that. We've had multiple meetings there and are continuing to move forward. This is going to be a much more structured court. It's going to be high intensive supervision. The people that are entering into this court will have a touch point not only with the livability team, but they'll be coming to court pretty much every other week, every week, depending on their needs, just to have check-ins, meet with court staff, meet with their peer support, and whatever else that looks like in order to make sure that they're staying on track. The focus on this is for the really high-intensity users of our system to try to stabilize them and get them moving forward. And of course, mental health court. So what we see a lot of is co-occurring issues with mental health and substance abuse. Mental health plays a real role in a lot of the people we see at this point. We don't have a great solution to it right now. There doesn't really seem to be an alternative solution at this point. Civil commitments are very cumbersome. There's a lot of places that those fail before they're ever useful. And so we're really hopeful that when the Harvard Fellow is here, that we'll be able to get fresh eyes on it and maybe get some real good ideas moving forward with that. So for the next year, what we're looking for is to stand up livability court with a small group of people to see what we can manage with our existing resources. We are in the process of writing a grant to expand those resources a little bit to see if we can do more with that. We're going to develop our roadmap for mental health court, so hopefully this time next year I'll be able to present something to you. My goal actually would be to have the Harvard Fellow maybe attend a study session or a council briefing to present whatever it is that we come up with this summer, so that you'll see that ahead of time. We are looking to become a court of record. Given our case numbers, we're probably one of the highest volume municipal courts in Oregon at this point, and it just makes a lot of sense for the court to be transparent and have that, that court of record element involved at this point. We're still working with various integrations with the OSP database system and with Carpel to make all our systems talk together. It's going to eliminate a lot of redundant data entry for staff and just make everybody a little bit more efficient. And come March, we're actually going to be down for 2 days as we transition to the cloud with our main database, Tyler. So the real benefit there is that we take some of the burden off of IT and their servers, and it'll also make us more flexible when we're out in the community doing our community outreach. Like I said, real high level, moved real quick through that. There is a memo that goes into a lot more detail, but I am happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. Questions? Mr. West.
How do you do it? Like, you just seem to do so much. Thank you for everything you do. I'm constantly impressed by the progress you're making and all the updates.
Well, thankfully, I've got an epic staff, and Cassie here is our court supervisor. She's here tonight in case I needed to call a friend on anything, but that's really the answer right there, is sitting right behind me.
Super. Yeah, Kevin.
For those of us not lawyers, what is a court of record exactly? Just briefly.
Sure. So right now, the municipal court, when we convene, there's no recording of what happens. It's literally me sitting behind my computer, typing as fast as I can to make a record of what I'm saying and making notes. So a court of record, we will have something similar to probably what's in here would be my guess. So we'll have this this clock sitting in front, and it'll have red numbers, and as soon as those numbers will roll in, it means we're recording. And we will just keep the recordings of all the court sessions. They'll be stored on a cloud, so it's not taking up any additional storage or anything. We're not going to need additional staff. There won't be any need for additional funding. It's already in our current budget. It's actually not a very big dollar amount at all. It's some software and another computer system in our courtroom itself. But it allows for transparency. The other thing it does right now, because we're not a court of record, appeals are de novo, which means it starts fresh at the circuit court, and then the whole process starts again. With a court of record, the appeals will go directly to the appellate court for review of legal rulings, not review of factual rulings.
I'd like to emphasize that second point because it affects our department as well.
Greatly, yeah. Yeah.
Great. Other questions? Super. Well
All
done.
right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Rich Rosenthal here. Is it 10:04 yet? No, still the under. Here to provide the annual reports for Lithium Driveway Fields and the Rogue X. I'll go in the hurry-up offense as I have a feeling you're ready to go home. Overall purpose is to demonstrate to you and the public the return on investment of these large-scale recreation facilities. And let's start with the sports park. And it opened in May of 2008. We're now in our 19th year of operation, and in 2025 we had 46 tournaments and events, the second highest total we've ever had, attracted about 250,000 people. We've had we'd had over 3.5 million visits to the sports park over the past 18 years. The number of tournament teams that we had there were almost exactly split between teams from the Rogue Valley and visitors, in keeping with our longtime goal of serving local needs, but also generating economic stimulus. I'm pleased to report our 2025 overall economic stimulus came within 106,000 of breaking the all-time record, which was set in 2024, second best year ever, and the third time that we've been over $13 million. Now, the park cost $32.5 million to build back between 2006 and 2013. Very inexpensive by today's standards. So since 2008, the overall estimated impact is over $185 million, almost 6 times the construction investment. And now some notable stats about 2025. We set an all-time record with 339 girls fast pitch teams playing in tournaments. It's the second straight year of growth in that particular sector, which is good. Of the 339 fast pitch teams, 238 of them came to Medford to play in the Legacy Sports tournaments, 47% increase. Now, Legacy is the top tournament provider in Northern California and Nevada, and we've partnered with them since 2020 to provide high-quality, low-cost tournaments here in Medford, and that has paid off a bumper crop year for them and us. We also partner with Legacy. They ran 8 very popular timeout on the field.
Sorry, random question, see if it's relevant at all.
Okay.
So I did notice that the visiting team percentages by year peaked in 2019 at 63%. So that means 63% of the teams are traveling in from elsewhere, right?
Yes.
And that's a good thing because we want heads and beds, right?
Yes.
So we partnered with Legacy Sports in 2020, and that number started declining. So do you feel that that's just because we've had more local teams participating and it's kind of offset that? Or is there another reason why perhaps less teams are traveling in than were before?
Great question. Thank you. There are a lot of variables to that. The 2019 total was 63%, and boy, did we hear from local teams that and the balance was a little off. Now, great for economic impact. However, the markets that these facilities grow locally, before the sports park opened, there were very few local youth baseball teams. Now there are so many of them, and so there are more youth teams around, and we try to balance it. We have a registration system and a process to try to balance that. Okay. Any other questions? All right, I will resume. Timeout is over. We are back into play. So Legacy Sports, they also run adult slow pitch softball tournaments, and there were 222 teams in the 8 tournaments that they ran at our facility. 366 adult slow pitch teams played in 19 tournaments overall, including the various senior softball age groups. And our youth baseball tournaments, we have a great reputation. They are white hot in terms of demand. We had 373 teams that played in our 10 city tournaments, 5 shy of last year's record. The springtime is the peak season for youth baseball, as you probably know, and our 5 spring baseball tournaments, 206 team slots sold out in 5 minutes, $130,000 of revenue in 5 minutes for the department, and there were almost as many teams turned away that we could accept. And that is, that is the adage, if you build it, they will come, and we built it, and they are coming and will continue to come. 26,000 teams at this facility since May of 2008, and we just can't meet the demand that we've stimulated, as I mentioned, in local and regional markets. And I guess it's a nice problem to have because it was opposite. We didn't have enough resources at all back before this was built. So one of the reasons why our sports park is so popular is ongoing investment in maintenance and capital renewal. It looks great thanks to our staff and your ongoing investment in the turf replacement schedule. We've spent over $6 million for 12 entire field turf replacements over this past 7 years. All but 2 fields have been replaced, with the remaining 2 on schedule for December 2027 next biennium, and then we'll start the cycle over again. And so I'll roll the credits here. These are people who make it happen. The Recreation Division, led by Jesse Nyberg. Dan Gelfie was our coordinator for most of the year, and now it's Anna Martin in that position. She'll be running the youth baseball tournaments and a whole lot more in 2026. And our park maintenance folks, these are the heroes. They are, our recreation's offense, park maintenance is defense, and these are the heroes. Quick note, Lithium Driveway has been the naming rights sponsor for the past 4.5 years. It was a 5-year agreement, and they have verbally indicated that they would like to extend the naming rights agreement, and we'll be working on that this year. So I will pause now before we pivot to the Rogue X. Any questions about the sports park?
All right. You're really knocking it out of the park.
Oh, nice.
You probably heard that.
I see what you did.
Seriously, though, do we have any room to expand to meet this, over capacity or under capacity? Like another place we could put a field, or is there?
Short answer is no. Not a full size, not a size of a field that would be useful for youth baseball. It's built out 132 acres. The middle of it is a nature area. The old hike camp farmhouse is where the Rogue Valley Mentoring Operation and the Elements Outdoor Preschool is, and there's a very small area across the way that where the Vietnam Memorial Wall was going to go, but that's not big enough for a field.
Okay, thanks.
Just a comment, Rich. It's interesting to see the popularity of softball and baseball in the youth leagues and other leagues as we reflect on the Emerald situation.
I have a slide coming up about that at the very end.
Yeah, it's not necessarily dispositive. The one is a much bigger deal than the other, but it's good to know.
Yeah, sports is big business. So, and speaking of big business, the Rogue X probably would not have been built if not for the success, and it was a proof in concept based on the sports park. So now we do the same procedure. We collect the data, research to be able to provide annual reports for you. Rogue X performance is interesting now in year 2. It's quickly become Medford's happy place. And it's a source of immense community pride. I'm sure you hear it. I hear it all the time. And one would think the year 2 totals would not come close to exceeding the first year of operation because, the novelty of a brand new building wears off. And some of that may be true. However, we're continually learning, adjusting, strategizing, partnering, maximizing efficiencies, and expanding programming. So most notably, the number of scheduled events in year 2 was increased to 65. That's 17% more than the first year. And there were events scheduled on 40 of the 52 weekends. Travel Medford's been a great partner in helping get activities there. We think about 300,000 people came through the doors in 2025, and you can read more about that in the printed report. But just a few factoids, key factoids. We had a 14.7% increase in event center drop-ins in year 2, and we are seeing and serving more teenagers and young adults than ever before in our department's 69-year history, and it is really cool to see. We conducted 1,326 swim lessons. We continue to add more swim lesson capacity. We rolled out the school-to-pool water safety classes to Medford 4th graders in partnership with the school district and charter schools and Kids Unlimited Academy. We look forward to expanding that program, which is subsidized by the naming rights fee that we receive from Rogue Credit Union. It's a great program. The Rogue Rapids youth swim team, already a powerhouse in just year 2. And they're winning state championships, and they're maxed out right now at 130 swimmers. Again, you build it, they'll come, and now it's like we need another couple of pools, right? Nice problem to have. So what is the estimated economic impact of
Sorry, Rich, we got a quick break.
Again.
I think there was a
this your second time
coach
out?
Flags thrown?
I was trying. Rich was really focused.
Personal foul.
I'll show you personal foul. So, the big question is, there were several months where revenues were significantly down. So why is that?
First of all, it's timing. And the first few months of 2025, in 2024, those months were it was a blowtorch. We had fewer birthday parties in the second year because, and that's one of the key drivers of revenue. We had if my memory serves, and I could pull this up, about $180,000 of revenue just from birthday parties in that first year. The novelty wore off. We have fewer on those weekdays, and that's one of the things that we can do strategy-wise to try to incentivize people to have more birthday parties on the weekdays. Weekends are sold out still weeks in advance, so that's a key factor. But we turned it on in the second half of the year. It was a good summer, and the drop-in counts were much higher the second half of the year. I think that, the revenue was pretty darn good for considering the building wasn't a novelty anymore.
I noticed monthly revenue is just slightly down on average. The only significant drop seems to be the room rentals. We recently approved a change to increase that cost. So when you're talking about possibly incentivizing like midweek rentals of that, are you thinking maybe a tiered schedule?
Yes.
Groovy.
Yes, there is a RogueX business plan that will be on your council briefing agenda in March, where if you want to do a deep dive into the numbers, that we've got numbers and we've got a plan. Okay. End of second timeout. That is your final timeout? No, actually it isn't, Councilor. It's not volleyball. Okay, so based on our research, RogueX caused nearly $3 million in actual spending from people who live outside the Rogue Valley. So if you factor in the spending from visitors and residents, the number is $5.3 million, and we presume that there is a ripple effect of 185 cents for every dollar, and this is the methodology we've used for 19 years now. The overall estimated economic impact is 9.8 million, which is 3 million more than it was in the first year. 11 events more the second year than the first year. So the building cost 75.8 to build, and the overall economic stimulus just in 2 years is almost 20% of the construction costs. So these are good. I think they're good numbers. Here are the images of the most impactful events. The Barnstormers Craft Fair in November. 4,800 people came in, 190 vendors, $230,000 economic impact event. The car show, 4,500 spectators in April. Basketball tournaments, 11 of them, 474 teams played in them. 34% of the overall economic impact came from basketball events. Tom Cole's annual event is the big one in May. Volleyball tournaments, 176 teams and 9 youth volleyball tournaments. That is a growing market sector, sort of like the youth baseball was for us with the sports park. Great opportunity. Open swim, the star of the show is the Brian Show Tune recreation pool. 105,000 visits, 87% of them were for a rec swim in this particular pool. Swimming pool admission fees account for 53% of the facility's overall revenue. And I'm just the front man for this band, the show. These are the folks who make the music, the recreation division again, and the customer service staff. Just hundreds of thousands of inputs from people walking in, the transactions, phone calls, and facility maintenance folks. They're the heroes, unsung heroes. And Councilor Quinn, here's my final thought about all the sports park generated. The sports park in the RogueX, 23.1 million in 2025, an estimated economic stimulus. And if you count the sports park since 2008, it's over 200 million. So these two facilities cost over 108 million to build, and that if we were to build them today, the RogueX would probably be 100 million. The sports park would probably be way more than $32.5 million. So the best recreation venue is the one that you built years ago and paid for years ago. So you have some decisions coming up about a potential stadium, as you alluded to, Councilor, and / event venue that would further expand potentially our city's identity as being a sports and recreation hub. It's not going to be cheap. These things are never cheap. It was almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago, I believe, this month in this room, where a previous council agonized over the concept of increasing the park utility fee $2.56 a month to create the bonding capacity to build the sports park, the first 3 phases of it. And it was very controversial. It was, I believe there were a couple of councilors did not show up for the vote. I think it was a 3-2 vote, which when was the last time you would see a 3-2 vote in council? Your predecessors, it was tough. And so, you know, there's no question of further build our identity and image, recreation facilities, enhance livability and better position us to attract and retain families and professionals for generations to come. There, you know, the final thought, and I'm probably saying too much here, is their presence reduce the local impacts of global economic downturns. We saw that in 2008 and 9 and in the pandemic. So with that I will step down from my pulpit here. Happy to answer any more questions. You're probably ready to go.
That was a great presentation, Rich. Additional questions?
I'm just impressed you were able to follow Judge Greer.
Microphone, please.
I'm just impressed you were able to follow her.
Oh my goodness, she's a superstar, and I'm just fortunate to be the closing act, the closer, like in baseball. She set it up. She shut him down for 8 innings. I came in and got the last 3 outs.
What? No, to be
KJ's the closer.
To be honest, you are mid-relief.
Oh, I'm mid-relief as a much better.
No, he's the setup pitcher right now. He's the setup.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the
Rich
setup
is the
person, and KJ has better stuff. She's got really wicked off-speed stuff.
Rich is the 7th inning
All right.
stretch.
Well done, Rich.
Thank you.
KJ, you got to bring the heat now.
So while KJ is coming forward, remember we had a study session on the federal agenda. You requested several changes. KJ is just going to touch on those real quick, and then, as I noted before, we will ask for an approval from council on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Christina Wilson, Communications and Government Relations Director. As John said, we're talking about our federal legislative agenda tonight. Last week you saw the draft. You asked for some changes. As a reminder, this is an annual agenda that we utilize when we are guiding our federal advocacy efforts. This was created through input from staff, council, and our federal lobbyists, CFM advocates. A quick overview on what our funding requests and policy priorities look like. That is in the document that it's in front of you. All of these funding requests and policy priorities fall within your council goals as well. The key updates since last week. So we added Midway Community Park funding request. We expanded on the wastewater project details. We removed the No Surprises Act from the priorities list for policies, and then we added a downtown infrastructure upgrade for infill housing.
What is the downtown infrastructure upgrade for infill housing priority that was added?
So we have a sewer master plan, and there's many deficiencies in the downtown area right now. If we were to have a large housing project in the downtown area, we would have a problem. So we are simply implementing a couple of the projects in our master plan as part of this package to try to get them done early. So if housing comes, we'll be ready for them.
Any questions other than Mike's?
Do we want to talk about this for 40 minutes so we beat Rich's over under? Okay.
Instead of talking about it, I think I move to approve the 2026 federal legislative agenda.
I second the motion.
So, yeah, we'll move that on. You know what? Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Mayor, one quick thing.
Yep.
I appreciate Midway coming back on. This doesn't have to be done this year, but just a thought of there was an amount for Midway, and obviously over the course of time, the amount of things cost go up, as we just heard in our presentation. So whether it be this cycle or this next cycle, when maybe we're more actively trying to get that grant, we just look at what that number is of the ask. That way we can properly make the park whenever year we get the funding. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yes, we will do that.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor of the 2026 federal legislative agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Baum?
Nothing else.
All right. Anything by council? All right. We are adjourned at 9:27.
Sorry, Rich.